Alright guys, welcome to the GosuCup Fridays edition, and this is June Cup number 11, and joining me on the cast is Defsy, and we had a little wait for this game. It was Hoy versus Curry. I thought it'd be great to get Hoy on stream, but he lost to Curry 3-2. You did see the end of the match, right?
Yeah. So Hoy got memed by a top deck lightning bolt for 4 damage because of spell power totem, but otherwise it was quite close game. So my condolences to Hoy.
Yeah, we could have had a Hoy astrogation round of 8, but dreams were shattered. And I apologise to my camera today if it's a bit dark in places. If you guys were watching on Wednesday, my light busted halfway during the cast, and I haven't had chance.
Bad, man.
Yeah, I haven't had a chance to replace it just yet. So I'm relying on natural light, and the sun is kind of setting behind me. It's really awkward.
It's kind of romantic, though, you know.
Romantic sunset to cast the GosuCup, just what I wanted. But yeah, we have a lot of views today, so welcome guys. This is the GosuCup. We stream every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday with a community cup brought to you by GosuGamers.net. If you head over to GosuGamers.net/Hearthstone, there is a button on the top of the page saying GosuCup EU, and you can find out all the information there. It is best of 5 conquest, or it's extended conquest, as we've come to call it, where both players pick classes one after another. I think it's the left player in the bracket picks first, the right player then picks twice, the left player picks twice, and then the right player picks one. So that's how it's worked out. So you can bring like 9 classes and then just kind of counter pick if you want to. But yeah, that's the format, and the winners of these, the top 4 at least of this cup, will be taking away HCT points, and we have 3 points for first place, 2 points for second place, and 1 point each for the 2 semi-finalists. But up next we have Curry going up against Ring Ollie, 2 players that we haven't seen.
Nope.
I don't think I've ever seen them in the bracket personally, but
No, I don't think so either. So Curry was the one who beat Hoy 3-2. And yeah, so Ring Ollie, I don't think I've heard of him, but the winner of this match goes on to play Astrogation, which is a North American player. So he plays in so he's mainly NA, but he does grind on EU for top 100 finishes. And I'm actually quite surprised to see him in a European Open Cup to grind HCT points.
well, we had Terrence on Wednesday.
Yep.
From Gale Esports of DreamHack Austin fame. Astrogation is actually ranked 15 on the EU ladder now, so he's definitely been put in that work that you described. We had some upsets during the tournament. Tolk was taken out, a great player from Millennium. He went out 3-0 to Trimortal. Who else did we have? I think Nerd got taken out quite early.
Yeah, Nerd, Tor the Brewer, I believe.
Yeah, Tor the Brewer's out. Hockey as well.
Yeah, so a lot of these players are players that we've come to know in the Community Cup. They're kind of community favorites, but you know, as good as they're consistent, and you know, they're extremely consistent players. We see them constantly getting maybe top 16, top 8 in our Community Cups, but no luck today. They've been knocked out quite early, but we have some pretty good players still remaining. Green Sheep, known as one of the best players in the UK, plays for Team Dignitas, is still in it. And yeah, so some other players that were knocked out. It was Mangolicious, who was, I think, top 8 of the DreamHack Sweden. He's no longer in it. And apart from that, yeah, so, and Astrogation, as you mentioned before, who will be playing the winner of this match.
Yep. Sorry if I seem a little distracted. Curry has brought multiple Warlocks. Alright, mate. So I'm just getting some grief at the moment.
Yeah. Yeah, but it looks like a lot of North American players have been trying to grind out points for the EU Summer Championships. And, you know, I'm not sure exactly why, but I think that maybe players like Terrence Miller or other players, maybe like Orange, who has in the past been playing in the North American scene, maybe they are deciding to move over to the European scene just because it seems like the European scene is just a bit more livelier and a bit and there's just more going on in the EU. So it's possible that they're trying to convert over to the EU scene and try to play against EU players more. And living in the EU, you can fly to a lot of these events a lot easier than you can maybe living in North America. So maybe
Well,
this is one reason why.
I don't live in the EU anymore as of today.
Oh, yeah, that's right, actually.
But we won't go into any politics. But yeah, I agree. I think the
Rip
European
UK.
scene, yeah, RIP UK. I think the European scene has a more stable esports culture for Hearthstone than NA, and we have a lot more premium events. We have a lot of dream hacks.
Mhm.
We used to have Via Game. It's a shame that's gone. Take TV. Like we've had a lot of just tournaments pumping out in the EU. We'd have like 2 premium tournaments a month sometimes, maybe even 3.
Yeah.
It's
Even
slowed
like,
down a little bit this year, I've found.
yeah.
But what does North America have? It has ONOG,
Yeah.
and
They
that's
have
it,
like a few
right?
dream hacks. They have DreamHack Austin, right? But it's in Austin, Texas, which is quite hard for players to fly out to for the most part.
I
Yeah.
think that's it. I think it's ONOG at PAX and DreamHack Austin, which has recently come about. And I'm not taking anything away from the American players. America has fantastic players, but I feel that Europe has a more established group of players. Like there's so many good European players. You could even say there's too many good European players.
Yeah.
I mean, if you picked out 2 major teams in Europe, I mean that pool of players is about probably probably can take up most of the top American players,
Mhm.
and there's loads of teams in
But
Europe.
even so, this is kind of the ongoing debate, right? Who is better, NA or EU? And both of them like to make fun of each other, but I am from NA, but these days I'm thinking that I'm in the party with the EU, like I think the EU players right now are just killing it, absolutely killing it.
I mean, if you look at top eights for events, it's usually, and the American invites that generally do well are players like Dog,
Hmm.
players like Firebat, etc.
Yeah,
But
but
then you have a complete like huge roster of EU players that get top eight.
yeah, but it's so interesting because even players like Firebat and Dog, they too are focusing on the EU scene more than the North American scene, it seems. Dog was just at DreamHack Sweden. He was at Insomnia, the last Insomnia, Insomnia 57. Same with Firebat. Players like Zalay even fly over here to play in events. So it's extremely interesting to see how the EU scene versus NA scene develops, and also how the recent developments in the Brexit referendum affect the world of competitive Hearthstone as well.
I'm sorry we're a little talk stone at the moment.
Yeah,
Having a lot of trouble when the players, multiple classes in his screenshots. Uh, Now he can't take a screenshot for some reason. He can't speak English apparently. So I'm gonna have to pop onto the old Google Translate
okay.
and let's
Yeah.
craft a message for him. Bear with me, guys.
Yeah, that's kind of the thing about just open cups is, they kind of go at their own pace, and we're here to cast some awesome players, but unlike tournaments, we can't really guarantee just matches going as smoothly as we want them to. So, yeah, a bit of talkstone right now, but we are trying to get you get some games playing and casted for you.
I am literally using Google Translate to communicate French to someone. More than One deck for each class. Do you understand? I hope he doesn't assume I speak French. But just the thing, like, language barriers can be broken now with something like Google Translate. Like, if this was 10 years ago and I had to communicate with someone online who spoke French, there'd be no way. There'd be no way. I've got my girlfriend who can speak, well, she can read and speak French, and I think she's just analysing we. Well, I know what we means, so he gave me the most simplest of reply. So did I actually turn out fine?
Yes.
Okay, so Google Translate succeeds. I remember, I think it's about 2 weeks ago. I think it's just before you started casting with me, dude. I had to speak Russian to someone.
Okay.
Because he didn't speak English. So I used Google Translate to speak Russian with him, and we were chatting in Russian through Google Translate. It's just bonkers.
Yeah, that's crazy. It's crazy, but it just shows you how diverse the world of Hearthstone is. No matter what language you speak, you can play with other people from around the world, which is, it has its problems, as we can see, but also it's kind of romantic, almost as romantic as the darkness in your room.
Yeah, well, the sunset behind me.
It's just like those. It's just like those scenes in the movies when the cowboy is kind of riding away on the horse into the sunset.
So, after speaking French to this gentleman, he is actually quitting. He's forfeited.
Okay.
Let me just communicate once again.
Yeah, let's just double check with Curry that. So, okay, if that's the case, then we will be moving straight into Astrogation's match.
Yep, pretty much.
Yeah, so you'll be getting to see the kind of our poster child for tonight, the player that we've been hyping up the most. That's currently still in the tournament. And if you want to look at the brackets, you can type !brackets in the chat to see who else is in and to follow their progress throughout the tournament.
He's giving it away to him.
Okay, so my French translator has confirmed that he is actually forfeiting the match. So Astrogation will be going up against Ring Ollie. And, I usually put the EU Gosu rankings with these players next to their name. Astrogation doesn't have an EU Gosu ranking because he's from NA. However, he is rank 4, I believe.
On NA?
Rank 14 in NA. Hoy is rank 4 in EU. 2 in EU, sorry. Just got a bit mixed up. But yeah, he is one of the top players in NA right now, and he is going to be playing sort of on European soil, I suppose, in a European Cup. So I'll just communicate quickly to this guy about Astrogation.
Let's go and get them added to each other. I checked my Gosu rankings today, and I'm actually ranked 70 in EU, so it feels good, man.
Ooh,
it's not that bad.
Top
not
100.
Bad. Yeah, top 100. Top 100. Gosu Gamer is the best ranking system there is out there, so I'm quite happy to be ranked 70 on that. Hopefully I get an invite to some tournaments,
I think that's the thing of the past, my friend. Invites to tournaments. Well, I guess it is. You get invited to the Swiss.
Okay.
I just need to communicate with the admins a moment, guys.
Sure.
Just keep them up to date.
Yeah, it's quite interesting because I've heard in the past, that some big tournaments, they go straight to the Gosu Gamers, the Gosu Gamers ranking, and they just pick, the top 16 or the top 8 or whatever, and they invite those players to a tournament. So, a lot of times in tournaments when people have already lost, say in major tournaments, people choose to play out their games anyways just to get more Gosu Gamer points. So next time you're in a tournament, don't drop out. Just keep playing so that you too can gain some Gosu Gamer points, and you too might get invited to some big tournaments.
I think another thing to consider as well when playing in tournaments like that, if it's good practice regardless.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, if you bomb out 2-0 in an 8-round or 7-round Swiss, I mean, it does suck. Don't get me wrong. It's kind of a shame. But on the flip side, you're going to get some good experience and practice through playing.
Yeah, because oftentimes a lot of those players who travel to major tournaments from around the world, they are a notch above, any players that you've probably played against, even on the ladder. Because a lot of these good players, they don't even play ladder, but if they were to play ladder, they would probably be high legend players, and that's why they're going out to these tournaments to play in the first place because they think that they can win. So, you just play it out, get those Gosu Gamer points, and get that experience. It's it's extremely rare. It's extremely rare opportunity to play against high caliber levels, even in the lower brackets of a major tournament. So, Talkstone.
Yeah, I apologize, guys.
Everyone likes a good Talkstone once in a while,
I've kind of switched over to admin a little bit. Oh, I've lost the cam. Sorry, I just lost a cam then because I had to communicate through Skype to talk to the admins.
Yeah.
So if the big Skype thing popped up, I apologize, guys. But I don't have a photo I can just snap in of you. You just need a photo of you just
next time. Well,
just cheesy photo. But Astrogation is now preparing his lineup to face Ring Ollie in the round of 8. So we've kind of just had to jump around here because I don't want to make you guys wait for me to find another round in round of 16. So
yeah,
what
and,
will
oh yep.
I guess what we'll probably do now instead, which is something we've been discussing kind of between me and Defsy, is we'll do Astrogation's game, and if that leads into the next semi-final, we'll just follow him and do his semi-final game, or Ring Ollie's semi-final game, and then we'll do the next semi-final, and then we'll do the grand final.
Okay.
I think that works out okay.
Yeah, and let's talk a little bit about these players. So Astrogation is currently ranked 15 on EU, right? And Ollie, so Ring Ollie is top 100 as well, right? What's his rank?
I don't think he's ranked. No, he's not ranked at all.
Oh no. For Legend Ladder.
Oh, for the Legend Ladder.
Yeah, I think he's ranked 61.
Yeah, so these two are within top 100 legend of each other. So they've probably bumped into each other a few times recently.
Like top 100, like top 100 legend is no joke. Even the difference between top 200 and top 100 is huge. So these players being top 100, even though it's not the end of the month yet, is a huge achievement. So I expect some really great gameplay from Ring Ollie, and as we know already, Astrogation is a well-known player in the North American scene. So hopefully we'll see some great play as usual from Astrogation.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited for it. 2 top 100 players duking it out, not on ladder as they're probably used to, within a tournament environment. See how they adapt. Like Ring Ollie is not a name I'm familiar with, so if he can hit top 6, if he can hit top 100 legend, he must be pretty good, right?
Yeah, exactly.
But I think Conquest is the best format to transition ladder skills over to a tournament setting anyway.
Yeah.
So this is kind of a comfort zone for him anyway. It's not like he's jumping into like last hero standing ban where he'll have to create a complex lineup. He'll have to figure out to play against his opponent. So I think it's going to work out pretty well for Ring Ollie. It might be a pretty even matchup overall.
Yeah, but even though we say that, Astrogation is known as one of the best ladder players in the world. Every single month he gets maybe a top 50 finish, if not on NA, then on EU. And I think he has a ton of top 10 finishes on his resume as well. So just absolutely insane ladder destroyer. So let's see if that'll actually carry over to tournament results, because I actually don't watch Astrogation play in too many tournaments.
Well, Astrogation, in recent times, he's performed very well in the ONOG tournaments, One Nation of Gamers. And the ONOG tournaments go over to PAX. It's one of the premium events that America has at the moment, and it's been really consistent. I've casted for ONOG several times. It's a great little event. But he got second place at the PAX East Major.
Oh, wow.
Taking away $2,000. And he also got joint third, fourth place at the Esports Arena Invitational.
Yeah,
So,
that's right. That's right.
taking $2,500, and he only lost 3-2 to 6-0. So it was a
Yeah.
very close game overall.
6-0 won. 6-0 eventually won that one, right?
Yes, he did. It was just after he left Archon.
Okay, yeah, and I remember 6-0 was running like the Stalag Fugan in his Druid, and it was kind of weird, but it seemed to work out for him. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it was mid-range Druid with those two. I remember.
It's
And
really weird, right?
and we never saw it again. Like that was it. A bunch of people played it on ladder for a little bit, and then, bam, it was gone. It was never heard of again.
Yeah, so Astrogation, he plays with all of the top pros. If you haven't heard of him, you should hear of him. He's extremely consistent player, and you know, I think I think he still needs a little bit more work on his tournament gameplay, but his Hearthstone is extremely solid.
Well, he's definitely a player who's gonna do well within the Hearthstone community. The more he plays, the better he's gonna get. It's definitely something to watch out for within the future. I don't know if he's still on New Order Esports. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I mean, neither.
I'm not actually sure what New Order Esports is up to these days. Cause we had Halflytics like disband recently, one of the big NA teams, and now New Order. I haven't done my research on New Order in recent times, but that's the one thing kind of North America lacks, is it lacks strong North American
Like tournament teams.
like
maybe.
Splice, which was Follow Esports, I think it was before that.
That's so the Rat plays for Spice. The Rats.
Yep, and VLPS as well.
Oh yeah, that's right.
So there's two really good players who play for that team, and they had a really strong lineup of players. But I think they've kind of chopped down quite a few of their players in recent times. But yeah, like we don't have an SK gaming of the US, for example. But we're about to get into it, guys. The game
Finally.
is beginning, and it is a Zoolock mirror. Excitement from everyone, I can imagine.
Yeah, thanks guys. Waiting all this time for this exciting Zoolock mirror, Kappa. Yeah, but all in all, as you said before, two amazing top legend EU ladder players facing it off. Let's see who will move on to the semifinals, right? Semifinals.
Yep, this is going straight to the semi-finals, and the winner of this will take on either Trimortal or Stickler 100. And we had kind of a taste of what Stickler 100 can do on Wednesday, and he's already made it back into the round of 8. But we're going to start things off, guys. Flamant to lead the charge for Ring Ollie. And it looks like Astrogation has a lot of good stuff in his hand, but Ring Ollie doesn't look too bad himself.
Yeah, pretty interesting. Pretty interesting because I think in this mirror, when you have the coin, you really want to save the coin for an MK boss, and this is exactly what Astrogation has in his hand. The MK boss is going to be able to contest pretty much the board unless Ring Ollie finds something like a Dark Iron Dwarf or an Abusive Sergeant soon.
And here you go. This is a perfect opportunity for Imp Gambos. Direwolf Alpha just doesn't clear it without some help. But even if it does, you still get that 1-1. And that 1-1 can be very relevant with stuff like Abusive Sergeant. So do you feel like Astrogation's already got kind of ahead here?
I think so, but this Crazy Alchemist pickup is extremely good. You know, Ring Ollie can choose to Crazy Alchemist this and just leave Astrogation with 1-1 versus Ring Ollie's 2-2. Or he can choose to play the Imp Game boss, which is, I think, a little bit sketchier. But it plays on curve, and, you know, you can save the Crazy Alchemist for something else. In this matchup, there are a ton of uses for Crazy Alchemist. So I'm not sure exactly what Ring Ollie would go for. What do you think, Aquablon?
I think you play on curve. You go for Imp Gam boss. If you do the Crazy Alchemist and you clear at the Imp Gam boss, you lose your Direwolf and you're left with a 2-2 and you're left with a 1-1. It's not a great trade-off on board. If you play Imp Gam boss, then he has the problem of dealing with your Imp Gam boss as well. But Ring Ollie doesn't agree. He's just gonna clear it out.
You know, it's like, I don't really blame him just because Imp Game boss is a card that can contest your entire board, you know, because it's a 2-4 for 3, and then it leaves 1-1s. If you don't kill it in one shot, it'll leave another 1-1. So, I think this is probably the safe. I want to say it's the safest play, but it's not the most mana efficient play.
So I think this Darkshire can't summon there. You've just seen a Crazed Alchemist to answer the Imp Gam boss. So that should tell you there's probably not an abusive. Might be an overwhelming. But as we know, Ring Ollie does have that overwhelming. So he does get an opportunity to clear out this Darkshire can't summon and develop a Knife Juggler of his own. I don't think there's much else you can do. Oh no, Imp Gam boss.
Yeah. So I think you either play one of the 3 drops here, right? So one of the 3 drops. I'm not sure which one's better. I don't mind seeing either, honestly, because I don't know. It's a bit hard to say which one's better. You know, if you play the Imp boss first and then the councilman behind it, you can protect it maybe a little bit better. Whereas you don't really mind, you know, using your Imp boss to trade. Whereas the councilman, you don't really want to use it to trade.
Yeah, I think Imp boss is overall the better pick here. And you can power up your can't summon next to him with the Imp boss if you need to. But Astrogation's going to respond with just fill up the board with a couple of bodies here just to fend off this Imp boss. And the Voidwalker is just going to slow it down a little bit. A cheeky knife to the Voidwalker is from the Imp, and if he develops a Darkshire can't summon with the Knife Jugglers, what's going to be needed to take out this 1-3?
I think it's quite interesting because there's also an argument to tap here, because in this matchup, it is a board-centric matchup, but there's also, at some point, it also becomes a value matchup, because, you know, if your opponent's outvaluing you, then it doesn't matter what your board is, because eventually they're going to catch up, and then they're going to have the resources to finish the game. So I think there's some argument to tapping and playing the Flame Imp instead of playing the Darkshire Councilman, but the Councilman is just... You know, it does contest the board pretty well, so I don't blame him for that.
So Councilman's going to have to be taken out here.
Yeah.
I can use the 1-1 as well, the Imp. And then you're going to probably want to deal with a Knife Juggler on top of that, because you've just made your ooze a lot weaker. Take out the Imp as well, so you're making sure that this Imp boss has to go into the 4-1, or he needs something else, like another Knife Juggler or a Mortal Coil to be able to take it out.
Ooh, Doomguard. What an amazing draw from Ring Ollie. I think that's probably the best draw in his deck, right? He just plays a 1 and a Doomguard.
Yeah, that kind of lines up perfectly. He gets a 5-7 on board now. Do you keep the Doomguard at 7 health?
That's a really good question, honestly. I'm not sure. I'm okay with either.
If you do it this way, you get to clear out the 2-3 as well, and I think that's more important at this point.
You know, 2 of the powerhouse cards in this... Okay, so maybe 3 of the powerhouse cards in this matchup are Forbidden Ritual, Doomguard, and Sea Giant. Because all of these cards are really swingy cards, because the other deck doesn't really have good ways to deal with them, so it's a ton of value, especially in this matchup.
And he's got 2 of them as well, so he can recharge his board very easily when he needs to. But Ring Ollie, I feel, is quite far ahead now, just because he has the bigger powered minions on board. I like the push here. Just force the 1-1s to clear and put Astrogation on the defensive.
I was going to say that Ring Ollie is ahead, but it depends on how he chooses to play this game. So if he trades for board, I think that he's actually behind. If he goes for face, then I think he's ahead. So it's not necessarily wrong to trade with the board, but yeah, I think going face will win you more games at this point, because, you know, you don't want trades anyways. Your opponent's going to trade those into your minions, so there's no point to do the trading for him. Just get the damage to the face so that they can't life tap, and essentially if they can't life tap, then you're winning the battle on multiple grounds.
Yeah, he took the initiative on board, and then he took the initiative in the race to win the game as well, which is kind of the sign of a good Warlock player. The Seeker is picked up off the Peddler here. This is actually really good. He gets to develop a 5-5 for 1 now, and then he can do his second Peddler, and maybe he can get another 5-5.
Yeah, I think it's a bit interesting. I think he should have just played the Dark Peddler first anyways, just so that he could because it doesn't really change the Reliquary Seeker play, if it makes sense. But all in all,
I mean, he's done a pretty decent job here of getting back on board. I mean, he's got the 5-5, which contests the Doomguard now, which is always great.
Yep.
Mortal Coil going to start things off. That was actually just from the deck as well.
Oh, yeah. So pretty interesting, right? Because the Mortal Coil version, as you said before, not exactly sure what benefits it actually gives you. In the mirror match, it seems like it is quite good. And against aggro, right? You're just cycling through your deck for the low cost of 1 mana to take something off the board, draw a card.
Yeah, it's just where do you add it? This is the question. Anytime I see Mortal Coil in the deck, I'm just like, what did you take out to add this? Where is this space in the Zulot list? Isn't there better things you can put in Zulot than Mortal Coils?
The thing is, you have the life tap anyways, right? So the Mortal Coil is kind of, I don't want to say repetitive, but maybe it seems a bit low impact compared to other things that you can put in.
But the board has been stabilized by Ring, even though we had kind of a powerful turn from Astrogation in response to what he had to deal with. I feel like he's still keeping in the game, Ring Ollie, and now Astrogation can get the Darkshire Count Summon down. He could tap as well, but he's
deciding. Yep.
Might be a little afraid of what the damage output of Ring Ollie might become in the next few
Yeah,
taps.
I think at this point, the only thing he's considering is whether or not to tap. And the thing about Warlock is that you can't tap twice on a single turn, right? So if you want to tap multiple times, you're gonna have to do it once this turn, once the next turn too. So if he thinks that he's gonna have to tap this game anyways, then I think he should tap this turn. But you know, he decides not to. He thinks that the Darkshire Councilman and these 1/1s are gonna be good enough to somewhat finish the game.
Forbidden Ritual picked up by Ring Ollie here. Goes to the tap. That's a fantastic pick up there of the draw. Argus is one of the cards that can really swing this matchup in your favor, especially if you're playing on the offensive, which Ring Ollie was doing before. Do you think this Argus gives him any kind of offensive lines, or does he have to just mop up the board at this point?
Well, the thing is, you've seen both Forbidden Rituals from Astrogation, so you're not too worried about that Darkshire Councilman getting bigger than a 7-attack weapon, 7 attack, but still a 7 attack minion is pretty darn scary. And also from Ring Ollie, you haven't seen any sort of Doomguard, any sort of Leroy yet, so you have to assume that Astrogation's running at least one of those charged finishers in the deck, so I wouldn't fault him for trading here, but whatever he does, I think he has to be playing the Forbidden Ritual for 3.
I'm just wondering how he's going to go about it. No, I think I prefer this. I was thinking, like, if you start trading to the 5 attacks, you just give away too much of your board. And if you just take out, say, the Peddler, could have even went face there, I think.
I think it's quite interesting because I think that was the most inconsequential attack, just trading off that 1/1, because you know that's the best case scenario for you anyways if they trade a 1/1. Well, no, the worst case scenario if they trade their own tentacle into it anyways, because if they're hitting one of the 5 attack minions into it, then you don't really care, right? So I think that was the weirdest trade, but otherwise I was alright with that.
I think the trade makes sense now that I'm looking at board, because if you'd left that 1/1 up, the 4 tentacles could have cleared out the Doomguarded, so that's actually very clever.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah,
something that looked like totally irrelevant, if you actually analyze the board state, it has a lot of relevance to how Astrogation can get back.
But the Power Overwhelming is going to clear it off anyways, so let's see where the 6/5 goes. I wouldn't be surprised if the 6/5 goes face, honestly, because the 5/1's going to trade off. And the difference between 3 and 2, the difference between 3 and 1 damage is actually not that. I mean, it is big for, say, something like an Abusive Sergeant, but Power Overwhelming will do the same thing. So, can Ring Ollie find a Power Overwhelming? No, he finds Acidic Swamp Ooze. That's an interesting tech to put in.
It's a tech made by both players, but then again, there's so many weapon classes in the game right now that's at the top end of the meta. I'm not surprised. Voidwalker, not a bad pickup overall, I guess, with what's on board, because it does tank the Darkshire Councilman, but no Dark Iron Dwarf has been picked up.
So he's going to have to trade off with the Possessed Villager into the Ooze, and hope that Ring Ollie doesn't draw his second Doomguard. Because we saw one Doomguard come down, and usually when you play Doomguard, those cards come in pairs. So, the Void, yeah, I forgot for the Void Caller here. So the Voidwalker. The Voidwalker will prevent any sort of lethal apart from like a Soulfire off the top.
And that's going to be it. I mean, Astrogation surviving on 2 health. Coming off the ball. I mean, he felt like he was quite behind
The entire game.
But he managed to come back on board and maybe come back on 2 health, just showing the strength of our NA player in this EU Cup. So 1-0, guys. Astrogation taking a lead, very close lead. And even Ring Ollie just sent me a message saying, wow, like, how did I lose that? That was crazy.
I think that, there were a lot of intricate decisions to be made that game. When to fight for board, when to push your face. And Ring Ollie made a pretty early push to face. Remember that turn where we're like, oh, yeah, okay, does he fight for the board? Does he trade into the Dark Side Councilman with the Doom Guard, or does he just go all face? And he chose to go face, and he was hoping for some damage out, but he didn't draw any form of damage. So, the Zoo deck is full of damage, and there's even a second Mortal Coil in there probably to help him cycle into something else, but no luck for Ring Ollie. Let's see if he can pick up a game in this next match.
Well, he's going up against Astrogation's Warrior, and he gets the Acidic Swamp Ooze in the opening hand, which is going to help him a lot against a Fiery War Axe, which is one of the banes of Zulok in this matchup.
So let's talk about Ring Ollie's deck list a little bit. So Mortal Coil, Doom Guard, Acidic Swamp Ooze, and Crazed Alchemist. So I wonder what cards he's missing from the deck, because those are a lot of tech cards.
Very tech-heavy Zulok list, which can be its downfall sometimes because you remove consistency in other parts of the deck. I mean, I think Ooze is fine, to be honest, because there's so many weapon classes that are viable right now, but the other ones are very specific, right?
Yeah, so the thing is, I kind of don't understand the Ooze, because it seems like the Ooze is mainly for Doomhammer, but the thing is that your matchup versus Shaman is pretty good anyways, so I don't quite see the need for the Ooze tech. So if fighting against Warrior, oftentimes their Fiery War Axe isn't even good against you, because you have these minions like Argent Squire and Darkshire Councilman, Imp Boss.
And as you can see here, no Fiery War Axe for Astrogation, so we're not going to see the impact of the Acidic Swamp Ooze. But as we can see, Astrogation bringing the Cthulhu Warrior, which has been picking up in popularity recently, as some people have suggested that it does a little bit better against Shaman than, say, some of the other warriors in the metagame right now. What do you believe that's true?
I actually don't know. So I think that the traditional control warrior has a lot more options in a way, but the sheer amount of armor that you can gain from the Cthulhu warrior is absolutely insane. And if you can manage to get into a grindy game where you win with Cthulhu and then Doomcaller, it's pretty good against both control and aggressive decks. So
yeah, I think 20 armor for 9 mana is pretty good.
I mean, sometimes it's even more than that, because Brand Bronzebeard plus Shield Maiden, you get 20.
Yeah, it's pretty good, and you get the Jessica Trueheart as well, which when you start tanking them as well can really add up. But the one thing this warrior does have an advantage with other warriors, I suppose, is the early game. They get some good early game bodies to fight for the board. A 2-3 is not a bad stat line to start dealing with stuff like Direwolf Alpha, and now Disciple Cthulhu, another good example of being able to fight off these early Zoo minions. So I can see where people are coming from, feeling that the Cthulhu warrior is powerful against this archetype.
Because basically the Disciple of Cthulhu, I think, in a way, the Disciple of Cthulhu is the best Cthulhu card, because it's an Argent Horse Rider, but it can go through taunts, right? So you can't do things like power overwhelming it and stuff. But usually in Cthulhu decks, you don't really care about the charged minion itself to maybe combo with other cards like power overwhelming. So yeah, overall, I think it's much better. Then you have this card here, the what's this 4/2 called? The
Cthulhu's Chosen?
Oh, Cthulhu's Chosen. Yeah, Cthulhu's Chosen. This card is absolutely a nightmare to deal with in almost every class. Just you have to hit 2 things into it, and it's really annoying. It has 4 power. It can trade into maybe things like your Azure Drake.
It always demands like multiple resources to clear out. But it looks like Astrogation's already been taken down almost half health. And the Zulok does have a steady board going on. But Astrogation does have some answers, which you could use, but I like the foursome play here, because these answers to Zulok are just being reduced, and he's going to be able to squeeze in hero powers along with these plays in the future, which is going to help him stay in this game.
Yeah, so Emperor Thorson is not only a threat that has to be dealt with immediately, but it's kind of like taking out a loan, right? So you play this 5 mana 6/6, which is pretty underwhelming, but the thing that it gives you is that it gives you tempo later on because it discounted your entire hand. You can make some crazy broken plays that you weren't able to before. So maybe next turn he can go Ravaging Ghoul, then Disciple of Cthulhu, and it's a play that would otherwise cost 9 mana on turn 6.
And that is a devastating play to be on the receiving end of, especially of a Zulok. Fortunately for Ollie, he doesn't have a lot of high-value targets that are going to be taken care of. I mean, he does have the Imp-Gam boss, but the Imp-Gam boss has been around for so long now, it's kind of done its work. The Darkshire Councilman is the highest value target here right now, so he's still going to need to either have 7 remaining on board to go in combination with a combo he could pull off next turn, or he's going to have to find an executor.
Yeah, I think Astro's playing this game really well. Putting that threat on the board, just the perceived future threat of Emperor Thorson makes it dangerous enough to have to waste a power overwhelming and his 2/3 minion for it.
I spoke too soon then. Picks up that execute right off the top. So one thing you can consider now is taking... Well, he could play Ravaging Ghoul now, then ping off the 1/3 with the Disciple, and then he has execute for the Darkshire Councilman. Finish off the rest of the imp. That leaves 2 imps on board though. It's a bit awkward.
I think the best play is to Disciple of Cthulhu, the Darkshire Councilman, and then execute it, and then just play your other Cthulhu's Chosen. It's, you know, like, there are a ton of complicated plays, but I think the most simple play is just the best here.
Yeah, this is pretty clean.
Because, you know, the Ravaging Ghouls are extremely good versus Zoo, but strangely enough, it wasn't good with Ring Ollie's hand, but, you know, eventually it will be, because one way that Zulok gets back into the game is with Forbidden Ritual, and so saving those Ravaging Ghouls for Forbidden Ritual is finishing out the later part of this game for Astrogation.
Abusive Sergeant gonna come down. It's just
Doesn't push face
damage.
either.
Yeah.
Or he's gonna trade in, but I think you have to push face at this point. It's so hard because the Disciple... Okay, because if you don't trade, then the Cthulhu's Chosen can trade straight into your Imp-Gang boss, and also the 2/1, the Disciple of Cthulhu, can also help trade into the Darkshire Councilman as well. So I think the trade is correct, and he just wanted to commit a 2/1 to the board, which I think is actually a mistake, because at this point, a Whirlwind effect is already pretty bad for you. It's hard to say, though. It's hard to say.
Yeah, I think that was actually the correct play. Like you said, it just makes the clearing just so easy for the Chosens. Now you can, I guess you run the shield or the 4/1 into... Wait, oh yeah, so you run...
he just hit the Darkshire Councilman, yeah.
Yeah, and then you can drop the Ravaging Ghoul if
And
you
then
want
armor. Yeah, and then armor up, I guess. Oh, he's thinking about dropping double Ravaging Ghoul. I think you only use one. As I said before, you need this other Ravaging Ghoul for something like Forbidden Ritual, where otherwise you're gonna have to use a Brawl on it, and it's pretty lackluster using Brawl on a board of 1/1s.
Look how much of a nuisance this Imp-Gam boss has caused Astrogation in this game so far.
And it's pretty...
Ooh, nice knife there. Looks like Ring Ollie's just going all in here.
Yeah, he has to play it now. It's pretty unfortunate for Ring Ollie that Astro hasn't drawn a single weapon. And, you know, if Ring Ollie didn't play the Ooze, then Astrogation would have thought that this is maybe like something like an Acidic Swamp Ooze or Leroy Jenkins, or maybe a second Power Overwhelming, something like that. Card that he's been holding the entire game.
Goes for the revenge. It's a little unfortunate that Astrogation hadn't taken that extra 1 damage to his health, and then he would have had a big revenge play there.
Exactly.
So this is nice and clean, and it's gonna seal the deal here, taking a 2-0 lead. So the American is stomping the EU as things go right now. So 2-0 lead off the back of Cafoon Warrior, just basically playing solid, dealing with the board in efficient manners. Going for that foursome was great as well. Some players might have played a little bit more reactively.
Exactly, because sometimes you would be so scared of just dying that you won't make a play like play Emperor Thaurissan. But the thing is that making Emperor Thaurissan is such a proactive play. It's a play to win. So Astrogation recognized that, and I think that was actually the turn, the decision that won him that game.
Alright guys, so we're going into potentially the last game. Match point for Astrogation. Looks like he's got an aggro shaman, and it looks like Ring Ollie hasn't given up on his Zulok just yet. It's full golden, so he is invested.
Yeah. And you know, because Ring Ollie knows that Astrogation's last deck is Shaman, and you know, traditionally Zoo has a very good matchup versus Shaman, just because they have the hero power and they have like easy ways to trade into their opponent's minions, and also cards like Defender of Argus, right? If the Shaman had Defender of Argus in their deck, it would actually be pretty good in this matchup. But Shamans don't run that card, so...
Or Lightning Storms in the aggressive variants. We did see one player on Wednesday run one Lightning Storm teched into his aggro Shaman, and it did end up being quite useful. But overall, the matchup should go in Ring's favour, but we'll have to see if the player's skill will be taken into account here.
So skill, meaning that can Astrogation draw Feral Spirits off the top?
Oh, no skills, man, no skills.
Yeah, but I think it's still quite good. I think it's worth playing the Flame Tongue Totem here just to clear off some minions, take the value trade. And oh wow, quite interesting. I think the Flame Tongue Totem's just better. You put it, and then you can trade the Healing Totem into the 1/1. And then your entire board is healthy again.
Yeah, I prefer the Flame Tongue Totem. Not only that, it puts a 0/3 down that needs to be answered.
Yeah.
There's more of a sense of urgency off the back of it. But it looks like he's going for the board clear instead.
Yeah, this is okay too. It's kind of interesting. I think wow, Steady Shot or Life Tap. These are the two best options that Astrogation could be offering. So I'm not quite sure what he wants, because at different points in the game you want different things. So maybe since Astrogation's hand is running out of steam, he would want to take the Life Tap over the Steady Shot, which if he does, he will think that the Life Tap will gain him more damage over the course of the game as opposed to the Steady Shot will.
I like Life Tap here. Life Tap actually allows you to compete with the Zulok on board. Whereas before, it wouldn't have. Like, Steady Shot accelerates your damage, but damage isn't something Astrogation is missing in this matchup. What he's missing is being able to keep up on board against the Zulok, and the Life Tap is definitely going to allow him to do that.
I would be surprised if we don't see the Flame Tongue come down now, because he has a pretty good trade with the Finley into the Wolf, and then he can play Argent Squire on the right side. Yeah. So, pretty good board. There's nothing Ollie can do about it, and Astrogation takes it 3-0.
Wow, so a quick concede there coming from Ring Ollie. After waiting ages to try and start his game with Curry, he goes into the round of 8 to take on Astrogation and takes quite a swift 3-0 from one of the top American players in Hearthstone right now.
Oh my goodness. My condolences out to Ollie, but Zoo is such a good powerful deck, but sometimes when you don't get the draws, say like that game, he fell behind on the board already on the first turn. It's a bit hard to come back, so I would be quite surprised if Zulok, I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if Zulok maybe changes its approach in its deck building style in the future. But yeah, as of now, 3-0'd. The Zulok gets 3-0'd, so...
Yeah, good game there from Astrogation. So he'll be going up against Tri-Immortal in the next round. Just to have a look at some of the other results here. So Alex MM is a player that I've kind of been keeping my eye on the bracket. He always seems to do pretty decently. But he will be going up against the winner of OM Juax and Zium.
Okay.
And Green Sheep managed to beat the cool one but then lost 3-0 to
Oh.
Olzol. Now, Olzol is a GosuCup winner, and he is waiting in the semi-finals for his opponent. So next up, I guess we'll have Astrogation versus Trimortal, and
Yeah.
then we'll have the winner of Alex M versus whoever he's going to play against, who will go up against Olzol, and that'll take us into the grand finals. So this game shouldn't take too long to get set up, cross my fingers. So we'll speak to Astrogation now, and we'll speak to his opponent, and we'll get that match set up for you very shortly.
Yes, and if you guys want to check out the bracket, type !brackets in the chat, and you can see how these players are doing and also how they've done throughout the tournament.
Alright guys, so we will be back very soon. Don't go anywhere. We're going to have Astrogation coming back up. Let's see if he can continue his performance against his next opponent. So stay tuned guys, and we'll return very soon. Alright guys, welcome back to the GosuCup. We have Astrogation once again going up against a new opponent, which is Trimortal, rank 96 in Europe on the Gosu rankings. And Trimortal is a player that I see quite often do pretty well in this cup. So let's see if we can, if an old cup grinder from the Gosu Gamers Cups is able to compete with Ladder God of USA. What do you think?
You know, so Astrogation and I, we are pretty close in the community. So I'm rooting for my boy Astrogation, but I would like to see someone beat him. So
I mean,
a bit torn for me. So
Trimortal's from Greece as well, and Greece has a very strong Hearthstone scene.
yes, they do.
I remember, what was the team called that Modern Leper was on? With Krober, Like a Boss. There was a group of Greek players which are really strong, and I don't think a lot of them are competing as much anymore. But I find like I used to be part of the beginning of the UK scene, and I don't compete anymore. But there's still fantastic players in the UK like Ball Control, Green Sheep, Cypher, for example, and we still have plenty of up and coming players from the UK scene. So even though like I may not be familiar with some of the new Greek players, or maybe some of the other new players from like Sweden, like Tor the Braw and Nerd from Portugal. You can these scenes still carry on regardless if it's previous like kings leave. New kings are crowned, right?
Yeah. And as I said before, I am rooting for Astrogation, but I also love upset. So let's see who will win this game. Do we know their deck list yet? Or do we know their deck choices yet?
They haven't told us, but Astro last time used Cafoon Warrior, Zulok, and Aggro Shaman. So that was his lineup. Trimortal I haven't seen play for some time, so I can't really make a read on what he might be playing.
So Astro's lineup was pretty standard, right? The Warrior, Zulok, Aggro, Shaman. Arguably the 3 best decks in the meta right now.
I mean, all he needs is Hunter, and he's fine.
Yeah.
But these guys are ready to get underway. So semi-final, number 1, guys, and it's going to be Trimortal versus Astrogation. And it's going to be a Warrior Mirror, Temple Warrior at the moment. That's what we see from Trimortal. Oh, Dragon Warrior. And he's going to be going up against that Cafoon Warrior. So this is a matchup I haven't seen before.
No, me neither, actually. So I'm not sure who is favored. I want to say that if both players have the best starts, that the Dragon Warrior would be better. Oh, and that was an awesome draw for Trimortal. He picks up a dragon, so there's Alex Rose's champion gets charged.
Yeah, fantastic start from there. He can develop the free, push some damage. Then he has a Throb in the follow-up if he needs to, or he can even Fiery War Axe something down. One thing that I've just seen to Astrogation's hand, which indicates kind of this deck's strengths towards Shaman, is the Baron Geddon.
Yeah.
Another card which really just stuffs Shaman, so we can see that Astrogation is maybe teching this deck out more to fight that class than any other. It looks like Trimortal's taking some time to figure out his turn.
I think it's quite interesting because I guess there are some arguments to just develop Fiery War Axe because the Alex Rose's champion allows your opponent to develop a War Axe of their own on curve, and Trimortal doesn't know what type of warrior Astrogation's playing. So, if it was a Temple Warrior or something, I think that maybe the decision would be a little bit different. But at the end of the day, I don't hate players roping out, especially in tournaments, to figure out their turns because Blizzard allows you 70 seconds per turn, and even if you've already decided your play for this turn, you can use this time to plan for future turns.
Yeah, I totally agree. The more time you take, the more likely you're going to make the correct decision. And if you just have a straight up play on curve without anything else to play, most of the time that's going to work out. But at that point, Trimortal had 2 choices, and he needed to make a decision that complemented what he was going to do in the future. But Frobin probably just going to come down here and then just deal with the 2-3. Oh, do you push damage? I think you just trade here, right?
I think you just trade because the Frothing Berserker is just way, way too valuable to let it trade off into like a slam or something like that, right? It's like your opponent can even choose to hit the the 2-3 into the Berserker and then slam afterwards and keep a 2-1. I think it's just really messy if you don't take the value trade with the Alex Strauss champion.
Disciple is going to handle Alex Strauss' champion, but she's already done a fantastic job pushing free damage, taking care of her River Croc, and buffing up this Throbbing. So now do you Fiery War Axe armor up? I think you do.
I think you have to.
The investment in the Throbbing's just too much, right?
Yeah, because the other thing he could have done was to play the Kor'kron Elite to hit it into the 2-1, but then you're weak to something like an Execute, or sorry, a Ravaging Ghoul Execute, and you know, just keeping your Frothing Berserker healthy, and you know, also keeping your Kor'kron Elite healthy too is very valuable. Probably more valuable than the Curve at this point.
Throbbing still not answered, and now a Crocon can come down and push 10 damage, which is a lot. This is what this warrior is good at, right? Just pushing damage. That's what Dragon Warrior's been known for doing these days.
But pretty good turn from Astrogation. Brand, Coin, the Disciple on the Frothing will clear that up. He's still taking a lot of damage, and the Kor'kron Elite can take a value trade into the Brand if Trimortal so chooses.
Well, he can answer the board pretty easily here, Trimortal, or he could just push for damage. Corruptor picked up off the top. Not going to have a tremendous amount of influence, I suppose, unless he keeps hold of the War Axe. But nothing else to play, so I guess you just go for it.
So that's 10 damage already if he goes all face. So essentially 6 HP or 8 with the armor up. And the Ragnaros can't even come down next turn, so I think this is a turn where you're going to have to clear board. And I really love this play, you know, using one of these executes to preserve the toughness to not only preserve the toughness on your Kor'kron Elite, but to push forward to the face.
It creates more stability for your board, and it makes you mana efficient. So yeah, that's a fantastic play there coming from Trimortal. Cafoon's Chosen just going to come down and try and leverage the board. And this is one of the cards which we talked about earlier, which is going to be able to trade into these minions very effectively.
Oh, but Trimortal draws a dragon, which is absolutely huge. He can play this Twilight Guardian and just kind of ignore that annoying Fortitude that would otherwise trade into your Blackwing Corruptor.
Yeah, that's a great pickup there for Trimortal. Gets to push 9 damage off the back of that as well. Cafoon is at a level now where he can play the Twin Emperors.
Oh yeah, either Twin Emperors or the Shield Bearer. But I think he's going to have to play Twin Emperors at this point just because he can't get through the Twilight Guardian. If Astrogation could have traded the 4-2 into the Blackwing Corruptor, then I think he could choose to play the Ancient Shield Bearer instead, and then maybe extend the life of his taunts, because he's gonna have if he plays Shield Bearer first, he has a 6/6 to help trade and protect his Twin Emperors. But instead, not really much choice here. He's gonna have to play the Twin Emperors to protect his life total.
So there is an Execute available for Trimortal. There's also, so he needs 1 more damage from somewhere.
Well, Ragnaros is lethal, I guess. I think do you go for the Ragnaros here, or do you just develop a minion? Oh.
By every page, going for the Rag.
I think you trade for one of them. Oh wow, he's gonna use his Blackwing Corruptor. I kind of don't understand that. Okay, so instead of, saving the 5/4 doesn't make a difference, right? Because saving his Blackwing Corruptor is the same thing because your opponent has the Disciple Cocoon. Oh, sorry, the Cocoon's Chosen.
Yeah, it's kind of a strange interaction there. But Astrogation managed to come back off the back of that Shield Bearer and the Shield Slam. The Crusher can come down now uncontested. 9/9. Where's BGH when you need him?
Yeah, and also where is some sort of activator for Execute when you need it? So he has no activator. He might have to make some weird play, like to play Baron Geddon now, just to damage that for next turn. And if it trades in, then that's fine. If it doesn't trade in, that's fine as well, because so that he can execute it.
It's a little dangerous, though. I mean, he is chipping away at his own health, but Trimortal doesn't have the damage support lethal at this point. And Ravaging Ghoul's not going to help either. So what do you think? Do you keep overextending at this point? Because everything you play here, apart from the Ghoul, doesn't interact with the Baron. If you clear the Baron, you give the warrior an opportunity to keep arming up. I do like the face here, but I don't think you can play much up. Maybe the first mate, just to push that extra bit of damage.
It's quite interesting because now we see the repercussions of... Oh, wow. So he plays Fairy Dragon, so he's expecting to trade into the Blackwing Corruptor, but we know that he has the double execute in hand. So we kind of see the repercussions of wasting the execute earlier to kill the Brand Bronzebeard instead of using the Kor'kron Elite. So if you use a Kor'kron Elite to just kill the Brand Bronzebeard, he would have missed 4 damage to face, but he would get to keep an execute, which at this point in the game, it's somewhat becoming a value matchup. So if Astrogation manages to stabilize, it's no longer a damage race, but Trimortal's going to have to fight back on the board.
Well, he's in a spot now where he can clear the Azure Drake, he can execute the Drake on there, and he knows that Baron is going to clear the rest of his board. So he's going to be on 5 health. So Trimortal needs to find 5 damage to win this game right off, and I don't think there is anything other than Grom and an activator.
1 off lethal, so there's no way that you can play Grom here because Grom pushing them down to 1 means that you're gonna have to draw something like a Fiery War Axe or something to close out the game, or an Alex draws his champion but you have no dragon. So I think this turn you have to just Ravaging Ghoul and armor up because Grom is like your final win condition. Oh, so he's going to choose not to play anything. This is extremely smart, actually, from Trimortal, because essentially it's killing the Harrison Jones, but Ancient Shield Bearer. I think Ancient Shield Bearer is going to close out this game.
Yeah, that's a tough play there for Trimortal to deal with. I like you said, Ravaging Ghoul being held by Baron Geddon's going to deal with Harrison right now, but he does take an additional 7 damage to the face. Ooh, there's a dragon. So go for Azure Drake first. Blood. Not gonna do too much. It does activate Grom for the future, but Astrogation is already in a point of this game where he's starting to stabilize.
Exactly. So Trimortal played the game maybe a little bit too fast. So in hindsight, right? In hindsight, we know that he played the game a little bit too fast. If he slowed down a little bit, maybe save the execute, he would have had some more options, maybe some more consistent damage to finish out the game. But, it's not necessarily wrong from Trimortal to take that approach because, the longer you wait, the faster your opponent's going to draw these Ancient Shield Bearers, as you saw. Astrogation gained 20 life off of these 7-mana 6/6 minions.
Blackwing Corrupt to pick up, but no activator. Grom has an activator now, but not enough damage to finish off the game. And Sylvanas still sits there being a nuisance. So to clear out the 6/3 and
play Blackwing Corruptor.
Oh, he's just going for the damage.
He's gonna go alt face. So if Astrogation has a way to deal or to kill his Sylvanas, maybe deal. Oh no, he does. So he can hit into the Ravaging Ghoul. Well, it's just lethal anyways, but he can hit the Sylvanas into Ravaging Ghoul and then double Ravaging Ghoul and steal the Grom, and that's lethal. I mean, he could have also shield slammed it. He could do a million things to steal the Grom, but yep.
All the ways to steal this Grom, and that is going to be a lethal from Astrogation, looking like he was quite behind with the aggression coming from Trimortal. However, Astrogation taking a win in a slick fashion there with that Kaboom Warrior. And it's like you said, that execute maybe might have been the big turning point for that match.
Yeah, we just see the power of Kaboom Warrior. Astrogation down to 5 life, right? Just on the verge of death. If that Ravaging Ghoul was 1 mana cheaper, or if the Ravaging Ghoul was a Blood to Ichor, then Astrogation would have just died. Trimortal would have just had lethal with the Grommash. But instead, he gained 20 armor, armored up in between as well, and slipped out from underneath Trimortal's lethal.
Yeah, so now we're going to go into the next game. So game number 2, guys. Kaboom Warrior has been done and dusted, but now it's going to be a Zulok coming from Astrogation. So it's looking like he's sticking to his old lineup, which he used from the previous round. And Dragon Warrior is going to take another stab at this. And this is like a match we played before the stream started, and you just can't keep up on board with the Warlock. So Trimortal is going to have to fight for board maybe in the first couple of turns, and then he's going to have to make an aggressive stance.
Exactly. So Argent Squire, extremely good picker for Astrogation. If he didn't do that, he would have had to play a 1 mana 2/1, which is not very exciting. But, you know, astrogation, you know, this is a format. This is extended conquest. So you're allowed to bring one deck of each class, and you're allowed to choose your lineup depending on what your opponent brings. So you take turns picking decks. But astrogation, you know, he actually only has 3 decks because he doesn't have enough cards on EU. So,
Oh, wow.
yeah.
Just playing with what he has. Maybe he only plays Cafoon Warrior because he had Cafoon free with the Old Gods pack. It's like, well, I might as well try and make a deck with this.
It's actually a pretty cheap deck apart from some of the legendaries. And, you know, Baron Geddon you is a legendary that you might just get randomly out of packs if you play Arena on EU, for example.
But now the in-game boss comes down, Ravishing Ghoul is going to be able to clear it up and leave 1-1-1. But this is what Trimalt needs to do in the early game.
Yep.
Just kind of fight the board, try and keep the board as clean as possible, and then at some point you need to turn on the old damage switch and go face. But as you can see already, Astrogation is able to mop up these minions from Trimortal with ease.
Yeah, pretty good draw there for Trimortal, but I'm not sure if that Blackwing Corruptor is going to have a target. There's a chance where the Astrogation next turn, if he draws somewhat of a low impact card. Actually no, I think, well, you've seen one Ravaging Ghoul, right? So I think Astrogation is probably going to choose to just Forbidden Ritual for 5. You know,
I
the
don't
Doom
mind
Guard.
Ooze pick
Yeah,
up, though.
because, I mean, this turn you can Ooze and just Forbidden Ritual, right? And then next turn you can Doom Guard, maybe play a 1-drop. You just kind of extend the value of your hand before you play the Doom Guard is pretty reasonable.
I think that was a low impact ooze overall. I guess it does help clear up the Imp boss. So actually it was actually a big impact ooze.
Yeah.
But now we have a situation where the Direwolf Alpha will allow Astrogation to use these tentacles before Ravaging Ghoul can deal with them.
Just absolutely insane draw from Astrogation. I think that the Wolf was probably the best draw in the deck. It's a little bit better than Power Overwhelming as well, just because you can keep the Power Overwhelming in your deck for maybe future turns, and you don't really want to. You know, the thing about using Power Overwhelmings is not that it's like wasting the Power Overwhelming, but you give your opponent the information that you have one less Power Overwhelming in your deck, so it gives your opponent a lot of information to play around with.
Direwolf Alpha deals with the slam. I'm not surprised. Direwolf Alpha has got a lot stronger in recent times, I think. It was kind of a one-off for some time in old Zoo. But now we've lost a lot of death rattles. Zoo is looking for other things to fill that spot. And with the stuff like Forbidden Ritual, Direwolf Alpha is fantastic. But look at this. Doom Guy going to be able to come out, clear out this problem right here, and the board belongs to Astro.
Yeah, so pretty much Trimortal needs an Execute, and that's not it. An Inner Rage, what is that for? What is that for, Aquablood? I don't get it.
I've seen it in lists. I don't know what it's for, but people do use it.
Okay, so I guess we talked about this a little bit before, right? You have Azure Drake, so it's a Super Moonfire, I guess. It can buff some minions for attack, I guess, and it can help combo with like Execute and Ravaging Ghoul, but you know, even so, Inner Rage still takes a slot in your deck, so I'm not sure it was high impact enough to warrant running Inner Rage in this aggro deck. I'm not sure.
It's an interesting pick. For what could they play alternatively? I think a bit of placement issues here. If he had the Imp boss swapped with a Void Walker, you'd be able to talk that up as well. But 5 health Trimortal is sitting on already, and just no executes, nothing to be able to handle this Zoo board. And I think this is just a bad matchup.
Yeah, as you said before, you know, pretty much the Warrior needs to have like turn 2 Fire War Axe, and you know, to deal with the Warlock is not really able to use their hero power that effectively because they're scared of like activating your Draconid Crusher or just plainly scared of dying from like Grommash. But yeah, a bit slow of a start, and he couldn't really hit, or he couldn't really get on the board, and the ooze Mastigation really was really a big tempo swing, I think.
Well, yeah, the ooze basically stopped his Imp boss from being taken out, and that Imp boss lasted until the end of the series. So it looks like Astrogation is once again in the same situation he was against Ollie. Match point with Aggro Shaman to finish off a Conquest
versus Zoo again. So if Astrogation wins this game, he just 6-0'd Zoo.
Yeah, pretty much. But look at this hand from Astrogation. He just has so many powerful plays. Tunnel Trog. If this sticks around now, he has the Feral Spirits. Not going to happen. Abusive Sergeant is going to come down.
And the Argent Squire, an amazing pickup for Trimortal. You know, the Zoo deck runs so many 1-drops, but, you know, you still can't always guarantee the critical mass of 1-drops in the early turn. So picking the Argent Squire is really going to have a huge impact on how this game turns out.
And a Mortal Coil as well from Trimortal. We were talking about this in the last game, and he's even rocking Mortal Coils these days. Maybe it's for the Zulot matchup.
So, do you think he runs Mortal Coil just because his name is Trimortal and he just wants to play every card with the word mortal in it? Or?
Yo, if that's the reason he's picked it, props to him. You know, he's keeping his name in the theme. Like I try to cast in a swimming pool, just to keep the aqua thing going, but it doesn't always work out.
Yeah, but I heard from a very reliable source that you're changing your name to Aqua Death, right? Is that correct?
Yeah, Aqua Death. You know, just best of both worlds, right? Good old fusion. But Goldshark Footman picked up. Not a lot of good decisions there from the peddler, but
it's still quite good. It's still quite reasonable, I think. The Goldshark Footman. He can choose a Juggler Footman here, but I think the Ritual is just a little bit better. You get more juggles. Your opponent has 2 1-toughness minions, and if you can clear this board, then cards like Flame Tongue Totem are no longer. So, is this time for the balanced version of what is it? The War Golem?
Yeah, the good old 7/7 for 4. I don't think Trimortal is too concerned at the moment because he has a lot of small taunts. I have fond memories of Goldshark Footman, which is probably quite a strange thing to say, but I was casting one of the early Hearthstone UK events with Sottle. I got Sottle on the Give Me a Hand Raven. It was just me and Raven casting at that point, but he jumped on, and we had to wait like an hour for a game. So we got the deck builder to create a deck with us, and it put double Goldshark Footman in our priest, and both Goldshark Footmans could not be cleared by a mid-range hunter. It lost him the game.
Oh my goodness, that is actually really funny. Yeah, you know, some classes can't deal with the like small taunts, which is why cards like Void Walker are so good.
But this board has just swung out of control while I was telling that irrelevant story.
I think you just clear everything, right? Because if you leave the Flamewreath Faceless, it can trade into your Sea Giant, which is pretty dodgy. At this point, you know, if they have Hex, maybe you'd make another play, but... Or if you knew for certain that Astrogation was running Hex, then you make another play, but... Yeah, but we're gonna see another 4-mana 7/7 come down. And wow, Forbidden Ritual. I think that's probably the best draw that Trimortal could have had.
He's going to see Overwhelming as well, so he has Burst as an option here. Definitely clear this. Oh, I don't know, you could go for the face now that you have Leroy Overwhelming.
Because the thing is that if they have a card like Lightning Storm, then you might as well just go face, because they're going to make that trade for you. But if they don't, if they have maybe some sort of buff spells, then you would be better off trading it. And he gets 8 base damage in anyways, but yeah, this matchup, well, we can see kind of why this matchup is pretty good for the Zulot most of the time, just because Shamans without Lightning Storm aren't very good at dealing with multiple things.
They just can't stay on board, and even though Shaman is a base deck, it still relies on staying on board, especially in the early game. I mean, Tunnel Trogs, Totem Golems, Feral Spirits, they're all cards that like scream board control, right? And then after the 7/7s drop on 4, you start going into the more aggressive style of play. But against Zulok, it's just so hard. It's just they just keep replenishing their board. You clear it, they replenish it, and then you start investing damage into trying to fight for board, and you can't win. And that's the one problem Shaman has in that matchup. Unlike Face Hunter on the flip side, which has Hero Power, which does 2 damage every time, and Unleash the Hounds, which answers big boards. So it's just like both face decks, but both deal with matchups very differently.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so this is Trimortal's last deck. His mage. Oh, sorry. Yeah, so this is his mage, and
Yogg Saron Tempo Mage. big props to Hotform and RDU making this deck come back. I don't think if Hotform had hit rank 1, that RDU might have not have picked it at DreamHack, and then he won DreamHack with it very convincingly. So it's nice to see Tempo Mage back. Actually, I do like the deck.
Yep.
But it's a nice change to seeing Freeze Mage for so long. I mean,
Exactly.
come on, Mage, you can do better than that.
Yeah. Also, I made a mistake earlier. It's not Trimortal's last deck. It's Trimortal's second deck, and it's Astrogation's last deck, right? So it won't be 6-0. So Astrogation won't get the 6-0 versus Zoo, right?
Yeah, he lost that opportunity, but I'm sure as long as he wins, he does not mind.
Yeah. What do you think about this matchup? Tempo Mage versus well, there are a ton of different types of Tempo Mage too, but in general, what do you think, Aquablad? Tempo Mage versus Face Shaman?
Well, I think the start Trimortals had is definitely in his favor. Mirror Image is a card that is going to have a tremendous amount of influence in this matchup. But the one beauty of Tempo Mage in the Old Gods is this card here, Cult Sorcerer and Arcane Blast. That kills Totem Golems, man. And if you can clear Totem Golems for 1 mana, you should be pretty happy.
You know that in the first week of the Old Gods, I played Cult Sorcerer with Arcane Explosion. So Arcane Explosion, essentially in this deck with double Azure Drake, double Cult Sorcerer, is pretty much a 2-mana consecration. So this card, even though it says Cthulhu on it, it's not really a Cthulhu card. It's just a card that works well in pretty much any mage deck that is planning to cast a card like Arcane Blast for extra spell power.
And Astrogation's in a similar spot he was in against the Zulok. He doesn't have access to Lightning Storm in this build as far as we know. And the Mirror Image has so much influence because it protects the important cards for Trimortal. But also, it's putting him in a spot where you can pick and choose how he deals with this.
Mirror Image is such an interesting card because, as you said before, Goldshirt Footman, Void Walker, these cards are small taunts that, oh my goodness, what is that Arcane Missiles?
The best Arcane Missiles I've ever seen.
Oh my goodness, but these small taunts are so hard for so many classes to deal with right now. Like, Warriors can't deal with small taunts, Druids can't deal with small taunts. Even Zoo and Shaman can't deal with small taunts, and Astrogation just gives it up. He knows that he doesn't have Lightning Storm in his deck, so we're gonna go to the final game now.
And this is why Mirror Image has come back into circulation with Tempo Mages. There was a time where Tempo Mage just didn't run it. They just ran the double Arcane Blast, the double Missiles, and that was it. As part as the 1 cost part of the deck. But now, since, like you said, it's so tough to deal with these little taunts, Mirror Image is a fantastic card in that respect.
It's so annoying.
Once you hide a Sorcerer's Apprentice, an Occult Sorcerer, or even a Mana Worm behind these taunts, and you have spells as removal, you basically get to do what you want until your opponent clears these taunts.
So, Aquablood, what do you think about Confuse being the new meta? So you play Priest with Confuse, and you just destroy all of these mirror images.
Yeah, the good old Confuse metagame we've been waiting for. I remember when Confuse came out, I was super excited for it. I was just like, this card just sounds fantastic. I can take my Mogashon warriors and turn them into threats. And then it was absolutely useless. But now Aggro Shaman's going to have to go up against, well, Dragon Warrior, which is an aggro deck in its own respect. Not a matchup I've seen much of, to be honest. So, what do you think?
Really. I'm not sure what to think. So Fairy Dragon is a card that's very uninteractive for Shamans to deal with. They need pretty much a Rock Biter Weapon as the only card that they can deal with it. But overall, conversely, Pirate Dragon Warrior can't really deal with cards like Flame Wreath Faceless, because I think a lot of these aggressive decks aren't running Executes.
I think, yeah, Dragon Warrior doesn't run Execute. It probably runs In a Rage instead.
It depends on what kind, but yeah.
The list that I found ran In a Rage instead of Execute, which is curious because, I mean, Execute is quite an easy card to activate most of the time for Warriors, but maybe Dragon Warriors struggle a little bit in comparison to more traditional Warrior decks.
Because I think that if you're running a deck like Dragon Pirate Warrior, then you don't have space actually for Ravaging Ghoul, you don't have space for Execute, so you're just you're just pretty much trying to be as aggressive as possible rather than slowing down and, removing minions. So we see Astrogation using a ton of resources here on this Frothing Berserker, and the biggest implication of using his Lightning Bolt is that he can't play one of the two Flame Wreath Faceless he has next turn. So next turn he's locked into Feral Spirits, and I think that Trimortal is going to be taking this game with a reverse sweep.
Yeah, it's not looking good so far for Astrogation. Like you said, investing so many resources to stay on board. I think the Feral Spirits is going to help him a little bit. But the problem is, Trimortal has the initiative now, and it's going to be so hard for Astrogation to get back in the game off the back of overloads that he needs to commit to try and stay in the match.
Exactly, because this Doomhammer isn't going to be able to come down until about turn 7. Wait, turn 7? Yeah, turn 7. Turn 7, he'll have exactly 5 mana if he plays back-to-back Flame Wreath Facelesses. And oh wait, he can't play back-to-back. Oh yes, yes he can, because he can play one on turn 5, then one on turn 6. Wait, no, next turn is overloaded for 2, right? So he can't even play Flame Wreath Faceless next turn.
He can't play. He can totem up as far as things go, and he's already facing quite a threatening board. Argent Squire pickup does clear out the Fairy Dragon, and maybe if he picks up a Taunt Totem, he can just slow things down a little bit.
No, I think the 1/1 is actually the best totem for him. I mean, it gets damaged, or it just gets dealt with by the weapon. But what I was thinking was Astrogation's only way out of this game is actually controlling the board with Doomhammer. But with this Draconid Crusher pickup, I think so. If Trimortal chooses to push all damage to face, he can play a 9/9 this turn.
I think that's a good idea. Let's just play the 9/9 against the Hexless Shamans.
It's like, hey, you've got a 4 mana 7/7. I've got a 6 mana 9/9.
Yeah, this is looking over already for Astrogation. Such a strong run in his first EU Cup.
The reverse sweep from Trimortal.
And who would have thought Shaman would be the
weakling
class to suffer at a reverse sweep? It's just not something I would imagine hearing very often. Oh. Yeah, and that is going to be it. And Trimortal is going to be our first grand finalist. Astrogation had a fantastic run, though, getting into the top 4. So he does get himself one HCT point. But I hope that inspires him to return to the GosuCup in the future. It was a pleasure watching him play.
Yeah, I was rooting for my boy Astrogation, but I also said that I liked seeing upsets, and there's our upset. So congratulations to Trimortal, or as we should say, Tri-Immortal.
Tri-Immortal.
Yeah.
Oh man. Well, you did say to me earlier that you like to watch the world burn, and I guess this is the equivalent to that as far as Hearthstone goes.
This is true.
So it looks like next game is going to be Olzol, a previous GosuCup winner, going up against the winner of Alex MM and Ziam.
Yes.
These guys might still be playing. They might be updating the scores right now. I've just seen a 1-0 go up. So that's going to be the next match, and that's going to decide who Trimortal is going to play in the grand finals.
So Olizol beat Green Sheep, also known as one of the best players in the UK, player for Team Dignitas, at 3-0. So I'm expecting some pretty good gameplay from Olizol.
I think Olzol's had quite a tough bracket so far. Round 2, he played Tor the Bro, beat him 3-1. And then round 3, he had Nerd, or 9 Nerd, and he beat him 3-2. He then just 3-0'd SPZ123, a name I'm not familiar with. Then he 3-0'd Green Sheep, and now he'll have to play either Alex M or Ziam. So he had quite a good run. How did Trimortal do? Trimortal has 3-0'd everyone apart from Omino, which is someone we've seen play in the past, and his first round against Spanish player Zawea. So Trimortal's had a very good run this tournament.
Yeah, if you guys want to check out the bracket, you want to keep up with the players you're rooting for, or just see how players have done in the past, go ahead and type !bracket in the chat, and you can follow that link.
Yep, so we will go to a quick break, guys, and then we'll set up the next game when it becomes available. I'm not sure how long it's going to take. I don't know how these players are doing. I don't have any of them on my Battle.net friends list. But once that's ready, we'll go into that semi-finals, and that should lead straight into the grand final. So don't go anywhere. We'll be back as soon as possible with the next semi, and then we'll conclude the GosuCup with the grand final. So stay tuned, and we'll be back soon. Hey guys, so it's Alex MM versus Ziam. It's 2-0 to Alex at the moment, so this could be wrapped up very shortly if Alex takes the next win, or it could go a little longer, as that'd be on my control, but I'll keep you guys posted. I'm just putting 20 minutes as a loose timer. Worst case scenario goes to 3-2. Best case scenario, we could be done in the next 10 minutes, so stay tuned, and we'll be back with some more Hearthstone as soon as it's available. Alright guys, welcome back to the GosuCup semi-finals coming up. I apologise for the wait, but Alex MM was victorious and he'll be going up against Ol Zol. And these guys are getting ready right now, so the match should be starting very soon. If you'd like to know more information about this cup, be sure to go to gosugamers.net/Hearthstone and then go to the GosuCup button above the page. We also have a new Moobot command, which DefC came up with, so props to him. If you type ~sign up, it gives you a link that takes you to all the brackets for the June period. Now, we've only got 3 cups left, but this Moobot command will be updated as the cups go on. So if you want to find access to what cups what dates the cups are going to be on and keep track of who won and stuff like that, it's going to be a pretty useful link to use.
Yeah, so these 3 are the last ones we're going to have for June. And these cups give you HCT points, which go towards the Summer European Championships.
Yeah.
Summer European Preliminaries, which if you win that, then you go to or if you top 8 that, then you go to the European Summer Championships.
Which are in California, usually shot in Burbank during the prelims. I'm not quite sure where it's shot during the championships, as players are not invited to California during the prelim stage anyway.
Yes.
However, yeah, this is a good opportunity to kind of boost up your HCT points because it's becoming very competitive now. I remember the cutoff point for winter was 8 points.
Yes.
And then for spring, was it 13?
13 points, yeah.
So it's getting a lot more competitive as more players get involved and try and get this shot at BlizzCon, which is ultimately what they lead to.
You know, like the world of esports has been quite young and it's growing rapidly. So if you want to try to get your foot in the door in the world of competitive Hearthstone, this is a good place to start, right? You just get some HCT points, and if you get enough, you can go play and maybe even travel around the world. And, you might even get picked up by a team or anything can happen. But it all starts here at the Gosu Gamers Community Cup.
This is where it begins, guys.
Sell out. Sell out.
And then we've got some classes for a change. They're treating us well today. So looks like Alex is going to be rocking Warlock, Warrior, Mage. And Ol is going to be playing Druid, Shaman, Hunter. So the first Hunter of today on stream, which is quite unusual considering we usually see at least 1 Hunter per match on stream in recent times. But it looks like Hunter may be falling off a little bit. What do you think?
Yeah, because the problem with Hunter is that it's a good deck against a ton of classes, right? It's good against Rogue, it's good against Reno Lock, it's good against Control Warriors, and what else? It has such a good matchup against a lot of decks, even Zoth Paladin.
Cthulhu Druid.
Yeah, Cthulhu Druid, but the problem is that those decks actually aren't really the most popular decks. The most popular decks are Zoolock, Aggro Druid, Tempo Warrior, and Hunter, when you pair it against those, it's kind of a bad matchup, Even the Tempo Warrior, where, is pretty even, but it's still not as good as maybe another deck. For example, maybe like Tempo Mage or something that would be better across the board. So, yeah, Hunter's kind of fallen off a bit. It doesn't really have a place in this meta right now.
Yeah, I think I totally agree with you there. The decks that it was once strong against, scores are not changed here, guys. Bear with me. The decks it was strong against are fallen off. When Old Gods came out, Miracle Rogue was super popular, and the Zoth Paladin, and Reno Jackson was still being played, and then Hunter kind of came in to counter them. But now decks that fight better on board are starting to come into circulation. And to start things off, we have a Druid Mage. Not a matchup we see very often these days. Cthulhu Druid with Wild Growth, which is interesting. I feel like Wild Growth is not really needed in Cthulhu Druid personally.
Yeah, just because you kind of curve out a little bit better than usual, right?
Yeah, well, you have your 2 drops, you have your 3 drops, and it's a little bit more consistent than what old Druid used to be about, which was ramping it to 4 as quickly as possible, rather than having these 2 and 3s. But a nice start here for Volvo.
Yeah, so pretty interesting. Alex chose to keep the Frostbolt in his open hand. I'm not sure exactly what he's keeping the Frostbolt for because, unlike in the past, you would keep it for maybe a Darnassus Aspirant, but these days, a Frostbolt doesn't really kill anything properly.
Unless he's trying to kill the Twilight. Is it Twilight Summoner? The
Twilight
2-3?
Summoner. 2-3. Wait, which
Oh
one's
no,
this?
Beckoner of Evil. Sorry,
Yeah,
I always
Beckoner of Evil.
Beckoner of Evil is the card I always forget the name of. So I usually just call it River Croc.
Yeah, it's called Croc. The Cthulhu's River Croc. There you go.
Do you? All right, so he's hero power in here just to try and protect his mana worm there. Mana worm being obviously a very important card in getting Temple Warrior started, but Disciple Caboon's going to answer it pretty easily, and Curve is not looking too bad for Olzol.
Yeah, I think Olzol's lines are somewhat weird because, he's playing a bit off curve here, and I think I would have liked to see maybe just the Yeti come down before, then you can deal with it afterwards. But I guess maybe he values this Yeti as his only threat in his hand, so he wants to protect it a little bit better.
He gets Innovate Rag next turn, so that's definitely an option. Fireball going to come out from Alex, so respecting that the board, making sure that the Druid can't stay on it. However...
Yep, but pretty unfortunate for Olzol because we see that Alex has the Polymorph in his hand, which is not really a common addition these days to Tempo Mage, just because, again, you're facing a bunch of aggressive decks, right, where Polymorph is not that useful.
I think the inclusion of Rag in so many decks these days is an argument for Polymorph being a little better than we might appreciate it for. I mean, it's a little undervalued, I think, at the moment. You consider how strong Hex is, right?
Yep.
In specific situations, and a lot of aggro decks or aggressive and mid-range decks do kind of pack a Rag these days.
Yeah.
Druid packs it, Tempo Mage packs it, for example, so I don't mind it so much, but Arako is going to come down and kind of try and block off this Mage. Tempo Mage is going to start getting that Flame Waker buzzing. Going to be able to pop up the Arcane Blast, and nice and clean.
That Mage, these Tempo Mages, in the past we've seen them do very well versus Druid decks, and I think for the most part it's still true just because the Mage has so many options just to do degenerate things with Flame Waker and Arcane Blast with Spell Power and Polymorph, and even a Fireball is a pretty clean answer to a lot of the Druid's minions. So I think overall this matchup is still favored for the Mage, just like it used to be in the olden days.
Oh, look at this. Cabalist Tome.
Yep.
Cabalist Tome is just such a cool card. It's a shame it doesn't get as much play as it deserves, I think.
Yeah. And it's pretty interesting. He didn't choose to play the Flame Waker before, so he chose to take the risk that he's going to get some cheap cards that he can play off of the sources, off the back of the Sorcerer's Apprentice. And, this goes back to the Arakoa turn from Olazol. He had an option to play the Yeti first, and then Hero Power and use the Polymorph Sheep to kill the Apprentice. But instead, he chose to make the more mana-efficient play, and he's being punished for it because look at the Sorcerer's Apprentice. Look at how much work it did. It gained probably about 4 to 5 mana for Alex, and
just shows the power of that card. Ragnar's going to come down now, and as we spoke about earlier, these mirror images are just such a nuisance. You had to swipe the Flame Waker regardless, but it's so hard for Olazol to put any pressure on.
So one play for Olazol. Just it would be extremely lucky for him to kill off this Ragnaros as well, and yeah, so 50-50 for lethal for Alex. So he's gonna start off with a Cabalist Tome.
Oh, Vaporize. That card. I haven't seen that in a very long time. I remember Freeze Mage used to run 1 back in the early days. Doesn't get the 50-50 for the win, but that mirror image is going to help protect him for a little while at least.
Yeah, so this Wrath is going to be able to clear up the Ragnaros. He attacks first to play around a card like Effigy. So if it were Effigy, then Alex would get I believe mirror image is a 0-drop, right? So he would get a 0-drop instead of an 8-drop.
And that'd be a wisp these days, right? Because target dummies
Yeah.
no longer exists.
Yeah.
Or a tiny fin? A tiny fin zeros?
Yeah, yeah. Tiny fins exist, and also the target dummy. Target dummy also exists as well.
Goes to the wild growth first as well to test for counter
Hoping it's not a counter spell. Oh wait, no, sorry, spellbender, because he already tested for counter spell with the wild growth.
So now Ozol is kind of keeping the game a little bit. Speaking of spellbender, it is in the hand of Alex, and he's going to set it up this turn. He's kind of probably wished he could have had it last turn.
Did that come from the deck? Oh no, it came from Cabal's Tome. Okay.
But now he just gets to place some more bodies down. There's
Oh.
swipe.
That is absolutely essential, but as we know, that is a spellbender. Totally unfortunate for Ozol. It's not the worst since he can hero power down the mana worm and then clear off the flame waker with the drake, but he is gonna get vaporized if he chooses to attack this turn.
So swipe on the 2/4, right?
Yeah.
Let's attack first.
But he's scared of a mirror entity as well, so
Scared of everything.
he has to go for it. He has to go for it. Oh, he's thinking if he has lethal too, because you know this is lethal if those secrets were maybe mirror entity and I don't know what else. What else can you have? Spellbender, mirror entity, spellbender.
But you could be thinking it might be ice barrier, ice block, for example. There's so many combination of secrets this could be. How do you play around them? I think you just have to take a risk. You can do simple tests to start things off. Tests.
I don't like this.
Wow, Kaboom takes out a Flame Waker. Although he is playing around the secrets.
Yeah, but even so, I think that there's an equal chance for it to be mirror entity, right? So I think that if you swipe and then something bad happens, then you can play Sylvanas behind it. I think that was the best play because this play is still pretty dodgy. You're leaving up powerful minions for your opponent, and you're gonna swipe next turn anyway. So it's not like anything's getting that much better this turn compared to last.
So now these two secrets still remain, so problems are still there. Could do Living Roots first, which is good.
Yeah, if he wants to test for Spellbender, he's gonna have to deal 2 damage to a minion. So maybe if he wants the Living Roots, the 1/4. If he wants the Living Roots the 1/4 and then Hero Power the 1/4, then he can swipe. Well, no, it doesn't make sense. So he's gonna have to Living Roots the. Oh, why is he playing Sylvanas? I don't quite understand. Playing Sylvanas doesn't allow you to test for the Spellbender that you've been playing around for last turn, right? Because last turn he didn't swipe because he was playing around Spellbender or a Counterspell. So okay, so he chooses to test both Counterspell and the Spellbender once. He activates the Spellbender, putting the Spellbender 1/3 down to 1/1, and now he can swipe.
Swipe
I guess
clear. Clear the board at this point.
But do you take the damage to the face? You can Hero Power face. Then you die to a Frostbolt off the top.
Well, you swipe the... Oh, I don't think he's going for a swipe at all. Well, you could have swiped the Imp Master and then cleared up the 5/5 with the remainder of the Ninja from the Twins. But he decided to go for a Sylvanas instead because he just wants to get some power on board.
Yeah, so he's gonna get punished by something like a Flame Strike, something like, I don't know, not Mirror Image.
Yeah.
Mirror Image does maybe prevent the Sylvanas from doing some insane things, but okay, so he's sending the swipe a little bit. So he's gonna want to swipe the face this turn, I guess. Raven Idol is a pretty good draw. I think he searched for a spell here.
Yeah, I think spells are generally more powerful from Raven Idol anyway. Mulch, Savage Roar, Communion. So Communion's not going to happen. Savage Roar allows you to push a little bit more damage in the future. Mulch lets you handle a threat that comes down from your opponent. But he's top decking.
You know, Astral Communion's not the worst, right? Because Astral Communion, it's practically a wild growth at this point. It'll allow you to draw into your own deck if you think that your cards in your own deck are better than Savage Roar or Mulch.
Well, Mulch will allow you to handle any threat developed by Alex, at least. Savage Roar gives you, like I said, more damage output.
Yeah.
I think at 6 health, you maybe go for the Savage Roar.
Yeah, I think the Savage Roar is getting better overall. but because your Sylvanas is gonna stick around, that's gonna represent an extra 2 damage, and oh, you swap the minion, but this doesn't play around Vaporize, surprisingly. So he is gonna get wrecked by Vape Nation.
Yeah, this is a little unfortunate for Zol.
Oh my
He
goodness.
doesn't attack.
Ah, okay, good. Yeah, so that's a good play from Olazol. Pretty high level play, and you know, the only cards that it could have been are Ice Block, Ice Barrier, and Vaporize. So he understands that and keeps his only minion on board.
Gonna play Elder, clear up the 3-2 now, right?
No need to take the damage to the face.
Nice. So now I think Olzol's in a good situation to win this game, unless, say, a Fireball comes off the top. Frostbolt. You Frostbolt Sylvanas now to play into the Vaporize?
Yeah, you have to, because you have a card like Yogg Saron in your deck, right? Maybe even another Faceless Summoner, maybe an Ethereal Conjurer, and so yeah, you know, it's quite interesting because this game came down to 50-50 on Rag, right?
Originally, yeah.
Yeah, because it hit the Cthulhu instead of hitting Olzol's face.
Well, Alex still wins off the back of a Fireball here, which
Yeah.
is a little scary. But now Savage Roar sets up Lethal for all, and I
Oh!
spoke way too soon.
That is so disgusting. This is usually what the mages do, right? Just one turn before you have lethal, they just top deck the exact card they need.
And there we have it. So Fireball is going to win, and I think this happens far too often.
Yeah,
Most players.
it's just far too often. Far too often.
Oh, that frustrating sound from the Wrath is still going on. And now it's over. So 1-0 to Alex so far. Olzol being a previous GosuCup winner as well. Pretty good start from him. The Frostbolt Sylvanas plays into the game plan as I just need Fireball to win. If I draw Fireball, I'm going to win. And the deck probably runs Arcane Intellects, I imagine. So there's another out as well. Yogg was probably another out as well. So the mage got to a point where the druid was fighting from behind and he was trying to set up a situation where he could win, but a lot of different things were affecting that. The Vaporize, the Spellbender, the Mirror Image, and then top deck Fireball just to win. And it's just the most...
It's a worse feeling, right?
Yeah, you just this druid. I finally got into a place where I can win. Or if he doesn't top deck the Fireball, I'm fine. I'm going to win this match. And then...
Exactly.
Oh, great. Mage.
Yeah, it reminds me back in like the Mech Mage days. That used to happen every single time. Just like, oh, okay, they just have to not draw Fireball this turn and I win. But nope, Fireball every time.
So game number 2, guys. Druid makes its return and it's going to go up against Zulok.
What do you think about this matchup? So Zulok versus Cthulhu Druid.
I think Zulok still wins this game on paper. I think it's still like maybe kind of 60-40, 65-35. I think the one thing Druid has is Living Roots, the River Croc, you know, Twilight Elder, Disciple of Cthulhu. They have the early bodies to help handle the Warlock, but it's going to get to a point where the Warlock outvalues you with trades, with Abusive Sergeants, Power of Whelmins, and then they just swarm the board and you can't do anything.
Yeah, so I guess the early turns really decide it, and if the early turns aren't kind of dominated by the Druid, then they need to win off the back of something really weird, like Azure Drake, Innervate Swipe to clear the Zulok's board.
Peddler, not a bad pickup, just curve out nicely. Mortal Coil, fine for Peddler, not for the deck. I wonder if Alex is running the Mortal Coils as well.
I'm not sure, actually.
I like Elder, not a bad body to contest a Zulok. 3-4, nice stats, but again, Abusive Sergeant is just a card that handles it so well.
Yeah, luckily for Olzol, no Abusive Sergeant, so still a pretty decent turn from Alex. He can curve out pretty meaningfully. Imp Gang Boss, and I think you just play the Void Caller.
No, you protect
Sorry, the Void Walker. Yep. Imp Gang Boss protect your 2/2. Playing the Flame Imp is just marginally better than saving the 2/2 in the first place, and just, you know, finding something to deal with that on a future turn rather than dealing with it now.
Nothing else from the Warlock. I wonder what he's up to.
Yeah.
I think
Again.
playing from his mobile phone.
Yeah. Or again, maybe just taking his time to think about future turns, which is totally reasonable and allowed. So, yeah, he can choose a Blood Mage Thalanos and Wrath. Blood Mage Thalanos is not a card that we see that often. Yeah, and I like the Wrath for 4 on the Imp King boss if he chooses to do that.
I think the spell power swipe is quite important in these matchups specifically. So having access to that spell power a little earlier might be one of the reasonings.
I think it's probably a card that should have been in Druid and mid-range Druid decks a long time ago, maybe even back in the combo Druid days, right? It's a loot hoarder that draws you into the combo, but also works with swipe. And
it used to be it used to be a mid-range Druid. It used to be a staple back in the day.
Okay.
Before the combo became widely recognized as kind of overpowered. People were still playing combo, but they were running like one copy, or maybe like double force, one savage, or one force, double savage. And Thalnos had a place because it just extended the reach of his swipe, which was very good against Zulok, which was very popular back then as well.
So here, do you charge the Druid of the Claw as Olazul?
I think you do. I think it's fine.
I mean, you're gonna give it the board anyways if your opponent has something like a Power Overwhelming, so I think just take the guaranteed trade here.
You do a 2-for-1 anyway. You're gonna be able to clear the Dark Peddler as well. But now, Forbidden Ritual gonna fill that board back up. Also gonna want to find that swipe. Doesn't pick it up.
Is that a swipe? I mean, the Raven Idol could be the swipe or Starfall, but I think the Air Code is just better overall, right? Just be mana efficient. You can find that on a future turn.
It's kind of a shame, really, because all these 1/1s are just going to take out Arakoa, and then your swipes going to become less efficient.
Power Overwhelming and Abusive Sergeant, exactly what the Doctor ordered. So, Alex with a very clean clear, and even into an Imp Gang boss, so... Oh.
Wow. Just playing for efficiency here.
Oh, I don't hate it either. It's a bit slow, but, there is a lot of value in this corruption. Like, what are they going to do, hit a 1/1?
Yes.
Yeah, that's kind of
weird. It kind of works though, right?
It does, but I'm not sure if it's even better than just Power Overwhelming and just taking the board, right? Because you missed 5 damage essentially, right?
I think another argument is that other taunts are going to have to be dealt with, which Overwhelming could help. But on the flip side, why not use Corruption then instead of now?
So I didn't really like that play from Alex. I think it's a bit too cute, if that makes sense. Yeah, he could have done that later. He gave up a lot of tempo by doing that. Lost 5 to face, which is pretty big, and... Well, let's see if he gets punished for it.
Alright, Knife Juggler Imgam boss.
Oh, if he's gonna play Abusive Sergeant, then he should do it first.
I'm gonna go for Overwhelming first. Into double Overwhelming. Oh, jeez. These twins are not gonna stick around too long.
Okay, sure.
And then gonna rely on the juggles.
It's kind of weird. I would have liked to see one of the Abusive Sergeants anyways, right? Just Abusive Sergeant to... It's so weird, I think. I mean, he got the juggles, but if he didn't get the juggles, then he would have had to sacrifice an extra tentacle. That's kind of weird. Okay, but Azure Drake drawn from Olzol. His hand is so weird. He has double Wild Growth, a Raven Idol, Nourish, and Azure Drake. So these are all not really straightforward cards. Like, how good they are depends on what they find.
Swipe! Finally!
Maybe
if he went for the Raven Idol earlier, he could have swiped that board. Well, it actually is going to do pretty well. I mean, with the Hero Pirate, going to clean up the board. And the one thing Ozol does have is he does have stuff to recharge his game plan later on. Nourish is going to be able to find him cards. Wild Growth's going to be able to find him cards. But, as we all know, Zulok does have the strength of replenishing the board off the back of an empty board or being cleared. So, a little tough.
Yep. Gonna tempo out this Defender Vargas here. Azure Drake is probably going to be the play. You'd rather just... Like, Nourish is nice, but you can still Nourish later because you want to play... Because you want the body of the Azure Drake down, right? So...
Board first, Nourish later.
I think so. You could even, like, Wild Growth, cycle card, but I think at this point you might as well just wait.
Yeah, Azure Drake start things off. Let's see what he finds. Another Azure Drake, not what you want to see.
You could double wild. Actually, I don't hate the double wild growth this turn. It's kind of weird. But the thing is that you have to think that next turn you're going to nourish anyways to draw cards. So you're not going to have time to play these wild growths, maybe.
Yeah, this is a little mana inefficient as well. I think double wild growth was a good play there. Just a cycle, because they're clunky, right? This was an opportunity to get rid of them.
Because he also drew the Azure Drake too, right? So you're gonna end the game with cards in your hand, right? The game's not gonna end with you running out of cards. So I think taking that turn just to cycle one of the wild growths was pretty reasonable.
That's not the draw that you want at this point. Needs to find another swipe, really, to be honest, to just clear up this board.
So Azure Drake, okay, that's not it. Yeah, there's nothing he's going to be able to do to find a swipe.
So just gets a 4-10 down just to try and contest, but 8-8 sitting on the other side of the field. We've seen double overwhelming, and we've seen one abusive sergeant, I believe. So the burst output of Alex is a little lower. And this Bilefin, Tidehunter, we haven't seen it in a while.
Exactly, in a while. Like, people used to play it because it's actually a pretty good juggler. You know, the 1/1 taunt was really hard to deal with, as you said before. Cards like cards like Goldshire, Footman, really annoying for some classes to deal with. But yeah, so let's see. I can't quite see how much life Ozol's on. I think it's like 14 or
it's 11.
11. Okay, 11 life. So, you know, this is kind of what we talked about before. He has double wild growth in his hand and the nourish. So he's not going to be able to cycle all these cards. And, you know, I think he's a bit too caught up on the value that he didn't just go for the cycle because he needed to find, like, another swipe, right? Well, he has 2 swipes in his deck. He found 1 swipe from the Raven Idol. So being a bit greedy is going to possibly be the nail in his coffin.
You can't be greedy with Druid in this matchup. That's the problem. You don't have room for it. He is 1 mana off from dropping Cthulhu as well, which is a little unfortunate. You could cycle a Wild Growth, try and find a taunt like a Druid of Claw, which you can innovate out, and maybe protect him for a little longer. It's just such an awkward situation. Fandral not going to be able to do much. So now he goes again for Wild Growth to try and find this taunt, so he can double innovate.
You know. What? So, what is this? Oh, Erica. Yeah, you know, the thing is that people think it might have been a joke for when we suggested that he should double wild growth instead of playing the Disciple of Cthulhu, but it's maybe a high level play to understand at that point in the game you're not going to be drawing all of the you're going to be finishing the game with cards in your hand. You're not going to run out of cards at that point, especially with the Nourish in hand, double Azure Drake. So. Yeah, that was pretty much a turn you needed to cycle it because you weren't getting another turn, especially if you're trying to play Nourish at some point in the game.
If he had double Wall Growth at that point, he would have been closer to his Arakoa and the Innovates that he drew as well. So he would have had an opportunity to play an Arakoa on that turn and maybe stay in the game a little longer. But ultimately, it didn't work out for the Malfurion, but Ozol is sticking to his guns here. Gonna line up against what looks like a Tempo or Patron Warrior.
Something like that. Some sort of aggressive warrior, right? Because we see the Korkan Elite. So, also keeping Innervate. One of the most powerful cards in Druid. I think you almost always keep Innervate in the opening hand.
You keep 1. I would never keep 2.
If you had Dr. Boom, would you keep 2? Double Innervate Dr. Boom?
Yeah, well, that was back in the day of Dr. Boom. I think double Innovate's just clunky in general. 1 is fine because now on 3 he has Druid of Claw. He can hero power this and next turn if he needs to, Druid of Claw, it works out. Or Nourish even if he just wants to ramp up.
And as we said last, when was it? It was on Wednesday, right? We were talking about Nourish. Nourish is such a hard card to use because you have to find the time and the turn to use Nourish as somewhat of a tempo lost card in order to gain resources for the future. And let's see how well Ozol can time or find a time frame to play his Nourish this game.
I think the next turn. I think you Nourish ramp next turn for sure.
Okay, Nourish ramp instead of you could even draw cards from it too. Innervate, draw cards.
You ramp up to 5. You ramp up
6.
to 5 mana.
You ramp up to 6, right? Because you ramp up to 5 this turn, and then you'll have 6 next turn.
Ah, there, that's true.
Yeah, so you can hero power this turn, but I think I kind of like the card draw.
But this sets up Arakoa for next turn. Druid of Claw hero power for turn 7. And then whatever options you draw, you just accelerate so far ahead of the warrior
Sure.
that your threats are going to be able to match up perfectly against them. What's the best he plays this turn? Fierce Monkey or a Throbbing? If a Throbbing comes down, you could even Druid of Claw to clear it if you feel that threatened by it. But what does he have to play? He doesn't have anything at this point.
It's quite interesting because at this point you can't really tell what the warrior was until now, right? Whirlwind is an indicator that it's a patron or temple warrior, but the thing is, I think without the information, I would have rather chose to draw cards because you're at the risk of being outvalued this game, especially when you don't know what type of warrior it is. Like maybe one argument for ramping for mana is that if Olzol has a second Nourish in his deck, so he's expecting to draw maybe more cards in the future with his double Azure Drake and his second Nourish. But you know, this hand, once his Druid of the Claws are gone, he's gonna be running out of steam, especially if he draws like maybe low impact cards like second Living Roots or a Wild Growth soon.
Yeah, I can see the problems with going for the mana. I guess it depends what you want to do, right?
Exactly.
I think I like ramping because you just outpower the board for a few turns. But if you don't draw the right cards in the next few turns, it can be a bit of a problem.
Ooh, I think you go for that, don't you? You just Fandral, Innervate, Druid of the Claw, and so you have a 6/6 Charger to face. You put your opponent on 10. Oh, he chooses not to. That's quite interesting. So he just chooses to charge instead of play the Fandral. I kind of wanted to play the Fandral, right? Because this Karen coming down, you know for a fact now that it's Temple Warrior. Or some crazy, like, Enzoth Control Warrior, I guess, but...
I think the Whirlwind is an indication of tempo. I agree with you. Fandral Innovate would have been fantastic. He would have a 4/6.
Oh, wait a second. He doesn't have the mana. Oh, yeah, he does. Yeah, he did have the mana, right? Yeah. Because he could have innovated to 9 mana.
Yeah, because he hero powered as well, didn't he?
Oh, sorry, he could have innovated to... Yeah, to 10 mana, So he'd have 1 mana left over after that. But, like, what's this Staghelm doing, right? He just used a Nourish. This is a second Druid of the Claw. What is he saving this Vandal for? I don't quite understand. Like, maybe a Raven Idol, but even at that point, it's worth less than the 6/6 Taunt Charge.
But then again, what do you save the Innovate for at 9 mana?
Exactly.
You're not playing double combo anymore. So, yeah, I think it was a bit of a too slow of a line.
Yeah. Ooh.
Gotta go for draw first, Wrath. So now you Fandral Wrath, right?
Yeah, you have to. You could do it on the Armor Smith. I think you do it on the Armor Smith. Because you can already hero power down the 5/1. Oh, and Malfearin is going crazy. I love all of the green effects.
You love all of this? I hate it. The science is just frustrating.
I think you Living Root's face just for 1 extra damage. Because at this point, damage to your face doesn't matter. Yeah.
That's curious. Now he's fighting for board. So he took an aggressive line last turn. But now he's going for a board play this turn.
He took the aggressive line the moment that he nourished for mana, right? So I don't like the direction he's going in. So now he's just wasting. He wasted 3 damage, and is just man.
So you could.
I mean, your opponent had 5 cards in hand. They're drawing another one. Do you really think you're gonna win the value game on board? I don't think so.
You have to take some risks. If you go for the aggressive line, you generally should just stick with it.
Exactly.
Regardless of how the board is influenced. Because if you don't, and you change your mind, then you're messing up your game plan. Your game plan doesn't support what you're changing it to, right?
Exactly. So now, maybe if he was a bit more aggressive, he could have outs to, like, maybe a swipe for lethal or something like that. Now he's gonna try to, like, play a single Twin Emperor on board and go for lethal that way. Wow, Ragnaros. I think Ragnaros Innervate face has to be the play because at this point you cannot win. You cannot win on the board anymore. You need to take that 1 and 4. You've already messed up, right? You've already messed up. You need to innervate and hero power the face. Oh, sorry. You don't have to innervate. It's the same.
Wow! Rewarded for playing inconsistently.
So
Ragnaros.
was there a way for Alex to play around that? I don't think so because he couldn't gain enough armor in order to be out of that range. That is actually ridiculous. So many games these days, since Rag has kind of come back into the meta after all the Death Rattle minions have left standard. Rag has seen so much play, and so many games come down to like a 50-50 Rag or like a 1-4 Rag, or something to do with Rag being absolutely ridiculous.
Rag ruining people's day, basically.
As usual.
It's just that matchup was just a little frustrating to watch for me from the Druid side, because he missed so much damage. Like, Fandral itself represented 3 damage the following turn if he went for the Innovate. So he would have been 3 damage ahead, and if he had taken the aggressive line and maybe Living Roots to face and used his hero power, like you said, he would have been in such a better position. But we're going into game number 4, guys. Let's see if Ozol can tie things up. And no more Druid, so no more stupid bug with the rafts.
Yeah.
That the Druid vacuum cleaner has been turned off. He's finished cleaning the house.
Yeah, Malfurion, stop cleaning your treehouse.
Takes his little apron off.
Yeah.
And now he is switching to Rexar and mid-range Druid, which we talked about earlier, kind of maybe fallen off a little bit since...
Or the mid-range Hunter, yeah.
Mid-range Hunter, sorry, yes. But mid-range Hunter's traditionally done very well in GosuCup, so let's see if tradition will be kept.
This is one of the matchups that I think is actually quite close overall, but I think it's slightly favored for the Tempo Mage, just because the Tempo Mage has so many options. Whereas, the Hunter, what they're doing, right? It's like, okay, on turn 2, they're going to play a 2-drop. On turn 3, they have Deadly Shot or Eaglehorn Bow or Animal Companion. Turn 4, they have, like, Houndmaster. 5, they have a String on the Tiger or Kodo. And, so on, right? It goes high main, it's a Call to Wild, and it's kind of predictable.
Yeah, Hunters never had creativity in their plays. Like, Lock and Load Yogg Hunter is the most creative Hunter has been in a very long time. And like you said, you can kind of just predict everything they're going to do because you have such a good idea. Like, Druid kind of was the same with mid-range Druid, but they had the dynamic of the combo, which could change things so dramatically with innovates and cheating out those spells. But Hunter doesn't really have that. They just kind of play on curve, and kind of what you're going to expect.
This is kind of funny because usually as a Tempo Warrior, you never play Bloodhoof Brave on 4 when your opponent has the coin, because if this gets Kodo'd, you kind of lose the game. But here, Alex's hand is so bad that he was actually forced into playing Bloodhoof Brave, which feels pretty bad, but, if he didn't see an immediate coin Kodo, he should be feeling pretty good about now.
He's in an awkward spot now, because Animal Companion, unless Misha is rolled, Misha's like the best one there. Leok just gets answered really early. He wants a coin high main next turn. That's such a big power play for him. However, now the coin high main doesn't feel as good because the Bloodhoof Brave has been activated, and he can deal with the high main with no problem at all.
And this comes down to Ozol's decision on turn 3. Ozol decided to Deadly Shot the Frothing Berserker, which is, I think, is 100% correct. 100% correct. But if he had maybe taken the risk to roll the Animal Companion and got a Huffer to kill it instead, or maybe uncontested Misha, then he could have Deadly Shotted the 2/6 and been in a much better position. But Frothing Berserker is one of those cards that you cannot take the chance to let it live, because it will win the game on its own.
It's a very frightening card, that's for sure. I'm not going to go for Animal Companion here. Going to go for the board play, I think, with the Desert Camel, knowing the Warriors don't run 1-drops. And it's very bad.
No Finley Mergleton for Alex. So, pretty interesting. So next turn, he's going to have to commit to either a Savannah High Main or Tiger Quick Shot. And... Alex's hand is not great either. He has Varian in hand, which is, it's still a while. Another 3 turns pretty much for Alex before that comes down. And before that, he's gonna have to see what he draws next turn, if he'll be able to have a more powerful play. Oh, Battle Rage. That's probably the best draw in his deck. What do you think?
Yeah, that's the kind of card you want to draw in this situation. I mean, the problem with Varian is Call the Wild is going to come down before that, and you have to answer that. But this is a fantastic draw from him. Look at that, recharging his hand with tremendous amounts of options. Could go for So we can go for Acolyte Fiery War Axe to be mana efficient, but you can go for Crowcon to clear the Desert Camel as well.
I think you do that because the problem with this matchup is that Temple Warrior cannot deal with Call the Wild if they don't have the board. So you're gonna want to just fight for the board as hard as you can up until Call the Wild. And wow, what is this ordering?
What you think? Oh, you want to get the guaranteed armor from the camel hit, right?
Oh, okay. Oh, so wait,
I think
so
he's
what did
protecting
he,
his Crowcon.
wait, so what did he hit the Karen into?
He hit Misha with Karen, Battle Raged, and then he used the Armor Smith to clear the Fiery Bat.
That's right. Okay, so no Unleash the Hounds for Olazol. You know, a lot of these lists don't run it these days, and he's gonna have to quick shot a 1 toughness minion. He's trying to set up for Call the Wild, but let's see if Alex can deter his Call the Wild. So, what do you think is the best play here for Alex? He has quite a lot of options.
So Bloodhoof Brave is going to be taken out by Stranglethorn Tiger off Call the Wild, so that's something to consider. He's eyeing up Grom here, just as a 4/9 on board to just start contesting the Animal Companions next.
It's pretty
turn.
good.
I like it. I was just thinking then, like, Bloodhoof Brave, Fiery War Axe, Armor Up, it's just so lackluster, but this,
Like it.
you put a lot of health on board, which is going to be able to clear some of these animals up.
You know, this is... It's quite a funny play from Alex, because this is like, to me, this is like the noob, like the most noob play and also the most advanced play, to play the Grommash like that and hit face.
And look what just happened. Stranglethorn Tiger and the Huffer clear out Grom because he's too afraid of it. And this is fantastic for Alex.
Whirlwind.
Not only does he gain armor, but he's able to clear the Tiger without it really doing much.
Oh, that's quite interesting. So I would have expected to just play like Acolyte and then Armor and like War Axe and Bloodhoof Brave, but he chooses to Whirlwind here, which is maybe a bit of a waste, I think, because I don't know, you could have done other stuff, but he's just gonna play another Acolyte behind this, I guess. Oh, he's gonna Armor instead of playing Acolyte. I kind of understand that. He's already has so much life total. I think you just want to play cards in your hand.
Yeah, just develop the board. But then Varian's coming down next turn, which is going to be very nice. Cavaldia is going to be a 2/1, which is not very effective. However, you can clear up Jaime now with Bane and the Acolyte and the Fiery War Axe.
Yeah, you know, that's kind of the problem with this matchup as well. This is also a value matchup, essentially, you know, because oftentimes it comes down to a tempo match, but if you lose the value and you don't have enough pressure as a hunter, then you will lose the you will lose the value match, and we see that here. Alex is not only winning the value match, he's winning the damage race, the board race. So yeah,
I think the preemptive Grom won him that game.
Yeah.
Ironmaster, just to try and create some protection, but with that execute in hand and the slam, we know this is lights out for Ozol.
Yep. Well, you know, Ozol hasn't seen a single execute, so you have to expect it coming down now. I mean, Alex practically drew his entire deck, so yeah. We get the preemptive concede from Olazol, and what is it now? Is it 2-0?
It's 3-1. Alex is our winner, and he's going to be going. He's already won. Who would have thought? And he's going to be going into the grand finals to face off against Tri-Immortal. So that's going to be coming up very soon. But I feel that Druid really let Ozol down. The Druid play was clunky, and it just didn't have the impact against Alex. I think Alex played exceptionally well.
Yeah.
The Grom, like you said, it was kind of a weird play, but it was next level because he knew that the Grom represented a threat that was big enough for all to want to clear it out. And then he invested the Stranglethorn and the Huffer, and then once you throw a Stranglethorn and a Huffer at Grom, you're pretty much like, good job, Grom, you did your job.
Yeah, you know, as I said, it was the most noob play and simultaneously also the most pro play. So, yeah, big props to Alex for making such a play.
So now we've just got our grand final, and let's just make sure he's online.
Yeah.
because he's been bouncing off a lot, and he is not online, Try Immortal. So I'm going to try and get him back on, and we're going to have the grand finals and to conclude this Gosu Cup. So I'll try and get this set up as soon as possible. When a player is not even on Hearthstone, it could take some time. So bear with us, guys. We'll be back very soon, and then we'll finish off this Gosu Cup with the grand finals.
See you soon.
All right, guys, welcome back to the Gosu Cup. We have the grand finals coming up. Alex MM going up against Try Immortal. And Try Immortal was the guy who beat Astrogation, which was probably my favorite to win the tournament as soon as I saw he had entered.
Yeah, absolutely insane. Trimortal, absolutely sick run to the finals. And Alex MM, his opponent, just defeated Olazol 3-1. And, Alex, he seems like a pretty darn good player. We liked all of his plays, and I think that he has a very good chance to take down the immortal Trimortal in the finals.
Not one immortal, he's a triple immortal.
Yeah, triple immortal.
If you manage to kill his immortality once, he still has 2 immortalities to back him up.
So what you're saying, Aquablot, is that he's basically Freeze Mage, because you need to kill Freeze Mage about 3 or 4 times until they actually die.
He is the physical Greek embodiment of Freeze Mage. I was going to say Jaina, but that might be a bit offensive, so...
Yeah, that's true.
Going to hold off on that. But Alex is going to stick with his lineup, so he's going to go for Tempo Warrior, Tempo Mage, and Tempo Warlock. I mean Zulok. And then we're going to have Trimortal. Let me ask him what lineup.
Yep.
But yeah, I guess Zoo Warlock is a tempo deck in nature,
yeah,
right?
it is. It is. It's an aggro deck, but
it's board centric, right? You
Yes,
fight for tempo on
board-centric.
board. So it does have similar fundamentals to Tempo Mage in Tempo Warrior, but Tempo Warrior and Tempo Mage just use different tools to achieve its Tempo Mage spells, Warrior's weapons, and good strong health minions in the lower curves. Do just whatever they can find from the expansion they're in right now. We need some more 1-drops. Well, Argent Squire is good back in the day. Let's just chuck that in. Some of Zulocks, that's why Zulocks are always going to stick around, because there are always going to be good 1-drops, there are always going to be good 2-drops, and they're just going to play them.
Yeah, that's true. It's kind of funny. We're talking about, tempo decks and control decks or aggro decks, and these terminologies, they're kind of loose, aren't they? Because, we'll call like mid-range hunter mid-range, but then it might have like a way more aggressive curve than what we used to call mid-range paladin, right? Mid-range paladin used to be like a control deck, but then yeah, they're all pretty loose. But I think essentially all aggro decks are somewhat tempo decks. What do you think?
Apart from dedicated face decks, so Face Hunter, for example.
Yeah,
Face Hunter
yeah.
will always go face. Only trade on board if it feels like he'll get more damage from
Exactly.
a trade, right?
It's not a tempo deck at all. Yeah, exactly.
But most aggro decks do fight for the board, generally. I mean, even Face Shaman, well, it's not really Face Shaman anymore. It's more aggro Shaman. It's kind of evolved into that through the expansion.
Yeah, because before, not many decks were running Flame Tongue Totems. People were running maybe one Flame Tongue Totem, and instead you ran Crackle, you ran Lava Shocks, because at some point you just give up the board. You don't care about the board anymore. You're just drawing cards with Ancestral Knowledge and burning their face. So at that point, it wasn't a tempo deck anymore either. But, we've evolved, and the current iterations are very board centric. You have even Tice playing cards like Thing from Below in an aggressive deck.
Tuscar
So-
Totemic, very board centric
Yeah.
card as well. And yeah, they generate tempo in their own way. But yeah, tempo is a very loose term, I think, when you describe an archetype. I mean, I think aggro, mid-range, and control are the 3 traditional ones, but you can you can mix that up. Hybrid, for example, hybrid hunter,
Yep.
hybrid shaman. I think hybrid shaman could be something that could be coined in the future.
Yep.
But enough talk still from us two. Let's get into the grand finals, guys. It's going to be Trimortal going up against Alex MM. And let's see who's going to take the gold and be... I think this is both of their first Gosu Cups to win at this point.
Okay.
And Death Boost being the only 2-time one who won it on Wednesday. So
Yeah.
he is the Gosu Cup king at the moment.
Yeah, because Olazol, the person we were casting last, has won one in the past, correct?
And Trimortal has Warrior, Zoo, Aggro, and Shaman. So he told me what his Warlock was. But...
Oh wait, no, it's Aggro Shaman, right? So.
Oh,
Zoo
right.
and
So,
Shaman.
Dragon Warrior, Aggro, Shaman, and Zoo. So that's going to be his lineup. And we've already seen what Alex is bringing as well. Tempo Mage, Tempo Warrior, and Zulok. Takes the Shapeshift here to help fight for board. What do you think of that? I mean, this matchup I feel is probably going to be better for the Dragon Warrior if he is more aggressive.
It's quite hard to say, actually. I honestly have absolutely no idea who's favored in this matchup. I think the key is going to be saving executes for pretty much Dragonade Crusher, and trying to deal with everything else with other resources.
I think the Dragon Warrior needs to take an earlier aggressive stance, just because the Temple Warrior will win the long game with stuff like Rag, Grom, Varian. Well, then again, Dragon Warrior runs Grom and Rag themselves, so it's actually a hard one to call. I think maybe the Dragon Warrior has a bit of an advantage here.
You know, actually, thinking about it again, I think that the Temple Warrior has an advantage mainly because of the card Battle Rage, right? Because the Dragon Warrior doesn't run Battle Rage. So if there's not too much pressure on the Tempo Warrior, then if Alex can get a good Battle Rage off, then he'll just simply be able to outvalue.
Wow, execute on a 3-2.
That is aggressive. So he's trying to keep the board. This makes sense since he's trying to protect his Azure Drake next turn as well.
But now he runs into the problem of Bloodhoof Brave, which is pretty much the obvious follow-up from any warriors these days. A Crocon Elite's could make it die.
I don't hate this play. Just be mana. So he's just being mana efficient playing the Azure Drake here. It's very reasonable.
Wow, what a battle rage. You're going to draw 3 cards, you'll be able to clear at something with the Bloodhoof as well. It's such a slow play for the Dragon Warrior, though, that Azure Drake. I can see the mana efficiency, but Crocon actually wasn't that good.
Or it was pretty good, right? I guess. But no, the Crocon's pretty bad, right? Because you get left with a 4/1 Crocon. And as we know, warriors are very good at dealing 1 damage.
Now the Shapeshift is gonna take some effect here. Gonna be able to clear at the 5/1. Crocon can deal with the Armor Smith if he wants, unless he wants to keep on full health.
I like this play from Trimortal. He keeps neither of his minions on 1 toughness to play around whirlwind effects such as Ravage and Ghoul.
Now Kane comes down. Now Kane is going to be just a nuisance for the rest of the game for Trimortal. We saw how much mileage Kane got in Alex's last game of the last series we casted, so I think it's just Trimortal's turn to just smoke and just try and gain an advantage on in the life battle.
You know, this is what we were kind of talking about before. Alex has a hand that has value, right? So he has another Battle Rage coming up, and he has Slam, even a Frothing Berserker to put a powerful threat on the board, but he's somewhat losing on the board. So Trimortal is going to be as aggressive as possible, because I think he understands he can't win the value game.
Which is what you kind of need to do with Dragon Warrior, I think, against decks that are going to be able to fight for board more efficiently than you. And Temple Warrior is known for its efficiency on board. So I like the aggressive play.
Yeah, and just look at this play from Alex, right? He chooses to have a 2/2 over a card from the Slam. So this is showing this is saying that Alex understands that he needs to get the board because he already will win the value game. So he doesn't need to draw more cards. He has Ragnaros and Gromosh and even the Battle Rage in hand. So he needs his 2/2 on board just to fight for board a little bit better.
The armor up is really important as well because it just puts him out of shot of a Crusher being buffed, or he knows that Trimortal will have to invest some more resources. And we see now the Inner Rage coming down just so he can get the 9/9 down. But this makes his Ravaging Ghoul very weak. But on the flip side, Alex doesn't have an Execute right now.
Wow, so choosing to put 1 damage into the Karen. So pretty interesting play. So I guess he does want to deal with the Karen eventually.
Well, if you leave Karen alone, he is just gonna value trade for days, right? He's just gonna free for 1, or free for 2, I guess, if you include Bane as well. But for 1 card, he'll probably free to 4 for 1. And if you allow Kane to just go ham on your board, you'll eventually just run out of steam.
So Malkarok drawn from Alex as well. I think that I don't think it's really the turn for Malkarok. So ideally, Alex would want to find an execute to execute this 9/9 since he does not want this 9/9 to connect to the face. But you know that face hit from Trimortal prevented the battle rage for 2 as well.
I think you go for Rag. Yeah, you go for Rag.
Do you hit in?
Yeah, I think you just swing for
Just
face.
take the 50-50. I think you hit. I think hit into the 9/9, don't you? Okay, so he's gonna take an aggressive approach. It makes sense, right? Because Dragon Warrior isn't really known for dealing burst of damage, but a Korokon Elite and Hero Power would have done it.
Yeah, a bit of a risky play actually. Maybe hitting the Banein was the better line, but now we're at a point now where Trimortal's just trying to find that lethal, and if he doesn't find that lethal,
He's one off lethal.
does he clear out Rag? I don't think you do. Yeah, I guess you have to, right?
I think you push the face because you push the face so that a future Korokon Elite is lethal, or even the second Blackwing Corruptor is lethal if they choose to play an 8-drop and not Hero Power.
I was just thinking then, do Blood or Hero Power? I think Blood is the better option. Not only to develop more on board, but you make the Rag a little bit more inconsistent.
Blood to Icar, pretty good draw. So he can Grommash and there's Blood to Icar, the 1/1, and he will probably axe the 2/2 as well. There's some argument to actually not even axing the 2/2 to hope that the Ragnaros can burn the 2/2.
I think you're still dead to Korokon regardless, because you can't armor up this turn, so I think it's fine just pushing 8 to face.
But you play around the second Blackwing Corruptor this way.
I mean,
it's okay.
On the flip side, I think Alex wants to set up lethal for himself, and I think that was the best way for him to set up lethal this turn.
Yeah, but even if the Rag missed, right, then you still set up lethal. Unless they have another inner rage, then the 2/2 is never gonna deal more than 2 damage. So I kind of wanted to see just leaving the 2/2 there, because I think all of the benefits were just better than all of the possibilities were better than hitting it with your weapon.
Do you Acolyte Whirlwind now?
Yeah, I guess so. You're looking just for an execute, right?
I wouldn't have minded Frovin though. Oh.
No, I think it's better if you just look for the executes. The frothing, because you don't really need the frothing to win this game, do you? Maybe you do. Well, you're the Korokon Elite.
Wait, what's going on?
So,
Drag it. Ooh, lose it up.
50-50 to lose the game. Oh, that is not what he wants. So, looks like this is going to come down to 50-50.
Alright, so he can Malkarok for a better weapon, but then he can't Korokon. So you Korokon the Frovin. Do you hit it with the...
Yep.
Put the Acolyte into the 9/9s, try and get an execute.
Okay, sure. Don't mind that. And you definitely hit the... Wait, I think I would like to see think about that more, because now he doesn't set up lethal with the Grom, but... Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
He could have done it in a way, maybe where Rag, no matter what hits, will kill the Draconid and set up lethal.
I'm not sure if there wasn't enough. I don't know if there was a way for him to do that. But that's going to be it for Trimortal.
Yeah.
Nothing he can do off the back of this. Alex takes an early lead like he did in his previous game. So let's see if Trimortal can get back into this.
No, that was a pretty close game, but both of these players have been playing for the entire day throughout this entire tournament, so, you know, the fatigue has got to be kicking in these finals.
Well, if Alex is from the Ukraine, so I think it's actually 12:30 a.m.
Okay.
So it's tomorrow for him.
Yeah.
He's already in tomorrow.
Tomorrowland.
But yeah, they've been playing a lot, so it is quite a grind this cup sometimes, because obviously when you get to grand finals, you've played 7 rounds, 6 to 7 rounds depending on buys. But it looks like Alex is going to queue in the Warlock into this Dragon Warrior, which is going to make its return. I think Alex's Warlock is a little weaker just because he runs the Balefin and the Ravaging Ghoul interacts with it well. But on the flip side, from what I've learned from playing this matchup today, is if the Warlock gets bored, you're probably not going to get it back.
Okay, it's pretty interesting. We see Trimortal keeping the Core Crown Elite. So he keeps Blood to Ichor, War Axe, and Core Crown Elite. So it looks like he was trying to maybe coin out the Core Crown Elites. I would have maybe liked to see him mull it for another better option, maybe a Fierce Monkey or a... Well, the Fierce Monkey's pretty bad in this matchup overall, but he has a War Axe, he has a Blood to Ichor, so he can protect the Fierce Monkey. So I think keeping the Core Crown Elite was kind of dodgy.
Yeah, he's not getting punished for it too hard here. He gets a great double Alex play now.
Yeah, he did pretty well. I think, yeah, use hit both minions and save the axe, because that axe is going to be useful at some point in the game.
Now, just Forbidden Ritual. So if a Ravaging Ghoul is picked up, Trimortal's going to be in a spot which is going to get him ahead in this game. Guardian's a nice pickup.
Do you axe a 1-1? Do you just trade all into 1-1 to prevent power overwhelming? Trade.
Looks like it.
Because if you don't, then what's the point of this trade to begin with, right? Okay, well, no axe. Well, he won't get punished. There's no power overwhelming.
What's interesting to me is, I think he could have made an attack to the face.
With the champions?
With one of the champions to play around abusive. But when you attack with both, I didn't know what he was playing around.
I see, yeah.
Just hates tentacles, right? Just want to get them off the board.
I think with a lot of these games, you're already in the finals. I think it's just better to just kind of relax a bit and take your time, right? Like you already gotten this far. Just take your time, make the most optimal play, and pushing 3 damage to the face is not irrelevant. So especially in this matchup where the life total of the Warlock is practically the amount of cards that they can draw.
But
so Flame
is gonna help out here. It's gonna be able to keep Alex in the game here and just have and allow him to make Trimortal use his board to try and fight back.
Yeah, but just look at these. Look at how much work these Alex Straw's champions have done. They've killed 1-1s. They've killed the Darkshire Councilman. They've done some damage to the face. Just so ridiculous. A 3/3 charge for 2 mana. What is this?
Got the blood there. Oh, he gets the spell power buff. Okay.
What is that? But I don't understand. Then you might as... I mean, it doesn't matter if he's gonna clear everything, right? He just wanted a 2-tone board. It makes sense. Tempo Gormok, looks like. Oh, he's gonna tap. Okay, I don't think that was really the time to tap, but he was dead either way, right? So, okay. 1 apiece.
Not a bad response from Trimortal. I mean, I was expecting maybe the Dragon Warrior to fall behind there, but he managed to board efficiently and then managed to have enough damage just to push face and put his opponent in a situation where he'd never recover. And that's what you need to do with that deck. If you lose the board at any point, you're probably going to lose the game. But congrats to Trimortal for keeping that Warlock at bay. I think it can be quite a tough matchup with a much clunkier hand. I think he was very fortunate he got both the Alex Stras as champions.
And a War Axe.
And the War Axe. They have such a huge influence on the early game. And I think that's what you need to mulligan for when you play that matchup. Get that Dragon, get the champions, get that War Axe. And then you can stay on board at least till in 3-4, and then you start pushing face and just going ham.
So Alex has his Warlock and also a Mage left. And Trimortal has his Warlock and a Shaman left.
Yes, so he has an Aggro Shaman and the Zulok, I believe.
Yeah, this is kind of what I expected because... Actually, maybe Alex would have been better queuing up his Mage. Because the thing is that Trimortal would never queue up his Shaman, just because the Shaman has kind of a bad matchup versus the Warlock. So you can kind of expect Trimortal to queue his Warlock as well. So yeah, so maybe Alex thinks that the mirror match is better for him than the Tempo Mage versus the Zoo.
Well, so far, this hand from Trimortal's fantastic. Double
Yeah.
1-drops for turn 1, then double 1-drops for turn 2 if he needs to.
But Alex's hand, on the other hand, is also pretty good. Pretty good. I don't think he beats Flame Imp, though, just because Flame Imp can value trade into that unless Alex draws another one. Oh, he keeps the coin. What do you think about keeping the coin? He could just dump his hand next turn, too, if he coined it out.
I think it's just because he doesn't want to take any damage from his Voidwalker. So now he can just go... Well, now he could go Villager, Squire, Voidwalker.
Yeah, I think you have to coin here.
The light.
I think you have to coin here. Just get on the board. Just get on the board.
I mean, the Zulok who floods first is probably going to win.
Yeah, exactly. They don't have Hellfire or anything, especially not these days.
So Peddler just going to go find something. Voidwalker would be pretty good. More coil pickup.
Coil's not great, but it's fine. It's fine.
It gets to deal with the Voidwalker at least. If he just had these two guys, it would be terrible.
Yeah. So, you know, the Peddler is pretty good here, but I wouldn't have faulted him for tapping either. Tap and then just play a 1-drop, because if you think that your hand is already running out of steam, which I think it is, then you're gonna want to tap for every single turn for the rest of the game. So, yep, but he chooses to develop the 2/2 instead, and this is one of the main reasons but Bile for Tidehunter in your deck, the Knife Juggler combo.
Not the best Knife Juggler, unfortunately.
These are probably like the worst targets apart from the face.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, pretty much the worst targets. You wanted to basically clear out these two guys. It would have been perfect. Seeker, a young priestess, an old school inclusion of Zulaks. I remember that was a staple in Zulak for some time. 2 young priestess.
What do you think about the young Dragonhawk with the power overwhelming? Just bam, Pyroblast him in the face.
The 2-mana Pyroblast. I like the idea of it, but I don't know how effective it can be.
I think
Against
not
a
at this
fighting
point.
for board.
Yeah. So pretty good turn for Alex here, just Forbidden Ritual. You know, a lot of people say that this is a weaker version of Implosion, but I think it's actually a stronger version of Implosion most of the time, just because you know what you're getting into, right? And Implosion could only make 4 max, and sometimes Implosion hits for a 2 or even a 3 sometimes, and it's pretty bad.
Do you need a blessing?
Yeah, it's interesting because they're quite similar in concept, but they're very different in execution.
Exactly.
So Young Priestess making its comeback, going to be buffing up the Peddler. Young Priestess is actually pretty decent, I think, in a matchup when you have board. If he was on an empty board with Young Priestess, the value it'd give you would be awesome in the trading game. But he just gets sniped there by a Knife Juggler. It doesn't even last a turn.
Yeah, but any hit apart from the face would have been fine, right?
So now things are flipped over to Alex's control. And a bit of a clunky hand from Trimortal.
Yeah, I think this turn you just have to suck it up in Forbidden Ritual. I don't like this Dark Iron Dwarf. Oh, okay, Dark Iron Dwarf Corruption is so mana inefficient.
Ooh, Sea Giant. Gonna wish he had kept hold of that Corruption.
Yep. So Villager, Sea Giant, you can't tap this turn, unfortunately.
Second Juggle's gonna be amazing. Oh.
So a bit punished for not playing the power overwhelming, but I think it's fine. I think you just trade 2 minions in. Definitely the Juggler is going in because that thing's corrupted.
Yeah, the Juggler did its job.
Alex, I think a bit of a mispositioning there. The Peddler should never, the Villager should never go in the middle. But second power overwhelming. So is that just lethal? That's just lethal. 14, 15, 16, 17. No, wait, no, it's 1 off, isn't it?
Nope,
No, sorry. It's 1 over, it's 1 over.
1 over, and that is going to be a very quick Zoo Mirror coming from Alex's side. And now he just has a Tempo Mage remaining to take down the rest of Trimortal's lineup.
Yeah, we kind of see the power of Sea Giant in the mirror match because these decks, especially Warlock as a class, right? Warlock cannot kill big things. You know, your Siphon Soul costs 6 mana. Just think about a card like Assassinate, right? Rogues don't even play Assassinate. And Assassinate is 5 mana, but Warlocks have to pay 6 mana for this.
You can't give a class everything, though, I guess.
Yeah, you can't give them the best hero power in the game, and
the best board flood in the game.
that's true.
But now we're going up against a Tempo Mage. This is the Cabalist home version though, and the Polymorph, and we saw how powerful that worked out for Alex in his previous match.
Instant mulligan for Alex. He knows that those are not the cards he wants in the beginning. He wants cards like Flame Waker, Arcane Missiles, Arcane Blast, Mana Worm.
Mirror Image as well, that's pretty
Mirror
powerful. It gets to tank a lot of the kind of one costs that Trimort will be running, but this is such a clunky hand for him. You never want to give the Tempo Mage the initiative, because as soon as he has initiatives, he can just pick and choose how he plays the game, especially with the spell advantage.
This is 2015.
No, this is like 2013 and
2013.
beta.
Okay, the Flame
Flame
Imp.
Imp, well, it was Flame Imp 0 mana Soulfire to get the tempo back in the day.
Wow. So what is he gonna do? He's gonna play Cult. I think it's quite interesting. I don't like playing the Cult Sorcerer here. I think I like playing the Sorcerer's Apprentice more, just because if you draw an Arcane Blast, it's gonna be way more relevant than anything the Sorcerer's Apprentice is gonna do.
On the flip side though, Sorcerer's Apprentice, if you can keep it on board next turn, you get a 4 mana Cabalist Tome.
But that's so ambitious, isn't it? I think it's so
Very
ambitious.
ambitious.
So yeah, I'm not sure about that. Personally, I didn't like that, but you know, at the end of the day, they're both 3/2s, so pretty similar. But Trimortal has the Dark Iron Dwarf, which is a card that we don't see that often in Zoo these days, but it's going to be so good here to clear up that Mana Worm, unless he chooses to just kill the Sorcerer's Apprentice.
If he goes out for the Mana Worm, which to me is kind of the high value target.
Yep. But I think it's okay, because leaving up Sorcerer's Apprentice these days can get you in a lot of trouble.
Especially if a Flame Waker came down next turn with like a Missiles and an Arcane Blast. Yeah, he's avoiding the trouble, it seems. Arcane Intellect. Fireball of Flame Imp. Wow. What do you think of this?
I think you have to, right? You have to, because next turn you want to play Azure Drake or Cabal's Tome. You have no you have no time to play Fireball, apart from this turn, right? So I think it's a necessary evil. Trimortal drawing pretty well out of his initially clunky hand. So what does he do here? He's pretty healthy. I think he can afford to just Cabal's Tome here. I don't hate that. Next turn you have the Azure Drake into Arcane Blast on the 4/4.
These are pretty useless, to be honest. I mean,
Power
what?
Overwhelming, I guess. Spellbender can protect you from Power Overwhelming.
Yeah.
Cone of Cold's pretty good, I think.
Yeah, Cone of Cold's good. Double Spellbender is just so lackluster, though.
Oh, yeah. Oh, Flame Strike, especially if it has a Flame Strike. I think he can just Cone of Cold this turn. Yeah, just Cone of Cold this. The Imp will also be frozen, I believe. And... oh, the Imp's not frozen. That's weird. I think the Imp's supposed to be frozen, right? Or am I wrong?
I don't think so. I've never seen that.
That's a pretty good draw. He can swap his Councilman now to play around Flame Strike, and I think that's something that he wants to do. Yeah, so what does this become, Alkabad? Quick. Okay, 5/5.
That's too fast for me, dude.
Yeah, because I was like, is it gonna become a 4/6 or a 5/5, right?
Has to Flame Strike. You'll be able to ping off the Dark Shadow Councilman next turn.
But at what cost, right? It
Yeah.
costs a lot of damage. So, oh, Dark Shadow Councilman, not bad, not bad.
Well, not as much damage as it could have been. I mean, a Forbidden Ritual would have been absolutely devastating.
But still, 7 damage to the dome is exactly what Trimortal wants right now. Putting the mage at a low life total, knowing that they don't have heals these days, apart from maybe an Ice Barrier from a Cabal's Tome.
So now, do you set up a Spellbender to stop a Power Overwhelming?
Is it even worth it at this point?
Does Power Overwhelming kill you?
No, I don't think so. It doesn't kill you, so... That's interesting. I would have liked to see... wait, huh?
The thing is, I would have liked to seen a ping, just because next turn you can Azure Drake Arcane Blast the second one
And
into ping. But is that too slow? That's the
Oh my
question.
gosh, is he gonna go for lethal here? If he goes for lethal, he's gonna get punished by Spellbender. You know what? You know what he can do? He can attack with a 3/1,
And then Mortal Coil it.
and then Mortal Coil something to test for Counterspell and Spellbender, and then he has lethal. So yeah, this is a great play from Trimortal. He spots it.
Next
And
level, boys.
So, you know, this play from Alex would have been so good if Primordial didn't draw the Mortal Coil, and maybe this is the power of Mortal Coil in these decks, to play around the Spellbender.
So why did you bring Mortal Coil deck? Oh well, I was just playing around Cabalist Tome Spellbender. It's something I bump into so often. And they're like, But yeah, that's going to be 2-2 from these guys, tied up. So now we're on to match point for both players, and one of these guys is going to be our grand finalist, and he is going to take away 3 HCT points. So it has Tempo Mage up against
Shaman.
Shaman, right? Aggro Shaman.
Yeah, Aggro Shaman.
This is going to be an interesting one. Not something we see too often, because apart from RDU basically playing Tempo Mage in last year standing, it's not something we've had too common as of recent, so I'm going to be interested to see how this game plans out. But here we go, guys. Last match of the day. Let's see who's going to take it.
Knowledge is power for Doomhammer.
Oh my goodness. I
So
think
what-
one of the main powers of Tempo Mage is that you always draw Mana Worm on turn 1.
Well, I wish I was a good Tempo Mage player, because I never draw Mana Winner on turn 1.
Okay, yeah.
I always drew Mech Warper, Coin Mech Warper into Clockwork Gnome, so I just stuck to Mech Mage.
Nice. So both these players keeping their entire hand. Absolutely nuts. So okay, he's gonna go the Rockbiter into Sir Finley Murgleton, like maybe, or he could save the coin, I guess.
I don't think Finley has much impact against Tempo Mage.
No,
They don't have
but,
any 1 health minions at all.
but it allowed you to maybe make a Flame Tongue Totem play, but which isn't even the best, I guess. So you can Totem Golem and then coin the Lightning Bolt, which is pretty reasonable as well. You know, Trimortal's playing quite quickly, but a lot of these turns, they take a lot of planning, right? Because, you know, if he used maybe the Lightning Bolt last turn, then he couldn't Rockbiter this turn, but then that means that he won't be overloaded on this following turn.
But this works out nicely for him because he gets to play the Squire or the Finley.
Yeah.
What would you go for, actually?
I think you go for the Squire, mainly because you want to actually totem a bit before you Finley, if possible. Because you have the Flame Tongue Totem in hand, and I would have liked to see the Argent Squire go on the other side, just because you have the Flame Tongue Totem, but you know that's just a small consideration. But next turn, probably Flame Tongue Totem and Hero Power.
Yeah, mop up this Water Elemental with the 2 minions on board. Yeah, I can see what you mean with the positioning, because now the Flame Tongue Totem doesn't go towards the Hero Power.
Yeah, especially if it's like a Taunt Totem, right? And, you know, buffing it up to 2 power would get 2 damage on whatever hits into it. It's a small mistake, but, you know, when you're playing when you're playing cards, or sorry, when you're playing with cards such as Flame Tongue Totem, Direwolf Alpha, you need to be aware that it's very important over a large number of games to put your minions in the correct place.
And he's going to completely play around that by going for Finley, I think. I think
I messed up already. No, I'm not gonna play.
it was my plan all along, guys.
Yeah.
I think, is he considering Lava Burst? Or is he
Wow.
just considering Spirits and pushing damage?
What do you think about that? He picked the Mage Hero Power over the Hunter Hero Power.
What does Mage Hero Power really do in this matchup?
So he's trying to fight for the board. I don't quite understand his reasoning, but we'll have to see what happens. So he can't even Flame Tongue plus Hero Power this. Is he gonna Lava Breath this? Okay, so he can Lightning Bolt and Mage Hero Power that. So that's quite lucky, I think. But is he just not gonna do that? Oh, I don't quite understand. Question mark?
I think Trimortal's
Checked
playing
out.
a bit too fast.
I think he's checked out of this game. Maybe he's just.
He is playing Shaman, so
Uh,
he's gonna he can probably stabilize off some good draws.
Yeah, but let's look at kind of the decisions he made, right? So remember that turn where I said on turn 4 where I wanted him to Hero Power and Flame Tongue. So having the Flame Tongue makes your Hero Power the 1/1 from your Hero Power. It gives you a lot of value. Now at this point, not finding the Warlock Hero Power off of Finley, you're pretty much out of steam. You're out of steam. So this Flame Strike is is probably just going to end the game.
Unless he picks up Doomhammer.
Yeah, so he needs Doomhammer right now. Ardent Horsear is not bad, but then even this Mage Hero Power, right? Like, this could be Hunter Hero Power.
The Mage Hero Power is such a strange pickup because now he's missing out on 1 additional damage every time he hits that button, and that's going to add up. That just gives the Tempo Mage time.
Counterspell. That is so huge for Alex. Because right now, instead of at 13, Alex could be at 10 if his Hunter Hero Power.
Totem Golem.
Pretty irrelevant at this point in the game. It looks like Alex is probably just going to go for the Ragnaros, unless he finds something a little bit better, maybe like a Frostbolt, then he can take the guaranteed line. Oh. He could Flame Waker, then Polymorph it. Yeah, but I like the Ragnaros here. He's pretty protected, and he also wants to win himself, right? Putting Rag down as a clock, and honestly, Face is totally fine as well.
Is he going to go for the Burst here? No, probably not. Just going to ping. I think keeping Flame Waker Polymorph is a good answer to a Faceless as well.
Yeah, exactly.
So Blizzard this turn, I can imagine, with Flame Waker.
Yeah, I think Flame Waker Blizzard.
That's very powerful.
And then just
Lock it
chill.
forward. Yeah, just chill out. Let Rag do his job.
It's kind of sick, but, you know, Trimortal is still totally in this game. Depending on his draws, but his draws aren't too fortunate, so... I don't think that Trimortal can actually win this game. That was a pretty good draw, but... So Trimortal is going to have to squeeze in damage with one of these minions. If Alex can find a way to clear all these minions, then there's no way that Trimortal can win.
And it's going to be a pretty easy feat for a Flame Waker.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, this is good ordering, and 1 mana off of guaranteed lethal. Okay, I don't think there's anything. There's nothing, right? Because we know that that's a counterspell as a secret.
But the Flame Juggler ping Lava Burst could win him the game.
Yeah.
Wait. Uh-oh.
Feels bad, man. Yeah, I think Trimortal had such a good chance to win this game, especially if he took the Hunter Hero Power, or if he just delayed the Finley for another turn. Yeah, but he's... Yeah.
There were a lot of lines that he took and positioning and stuff like that. Little things that make the difference against a high-level player. Like, that's what separates you from being an average player to a great player.
Yeah, exactly.
The tiny little intricate plays and positioning and all that sort of stuff makes your win percentage increase by maybe 1% each time you do it. Exactly. But in Hearthstone, 1% extra is a big deal.
A lot. Yeah.
Like, if you consider that a 65% win rate is pretty decent, if you're at 57 and you knock up that win percentage by 2, that's not that far off of 65, really.
Exactly.
So there we have it. We have Alex MM taking his first GosuCup, and he's going to be awarded 3 HCT points. So massive congratulations to him and all the other participants who hit top 4 today. Any final thoughts, dude, before we wrap this up?
Yeah, you know, Trimortal, you know, getting second, we did say that he had a lot of misplays, but, you know, getting second, especially through the amount, or through all of the amazing players that we've had in this tournament today, is still a huge achievement. You know, I would like to see Trimortal maybe work on his fatigue a little bit better, you know, and try to practice and come back stronger in future Gosu Gamers Cups.
I mean, Trimortal generally does pretty decently, I think. He's someone that I always kind of catches my eye when I'm looking around the bracket, because when I tend to go for the bracket these days, there's a lot of names that kind of just bounce at me that I've seen who are regulars here who do pretty well. And Trimortal's one of them who does pretty decently, but... You know, he gets his 2 HCT points. He can learn from this and just come back on next week and just start over again. And hopefully he'll learn just a few little things with the Shaman. And maybe that'll be enough, just to give him that little push he needs to get another win at GosuCup.
And, you know, like Trimortal and Alex, you guys can also be casted by us if you join the Gosu Gamers Community Cup. Each week we have a cup on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday every single week. And... do you want to tell them a little bit about that before we head off?
Yeah, so Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and you can sign up from 5 p.m. British summertime, 4 p.m. Central European summertime. And you can sign up there. You can sign up in advance as well, and you need to check in. So make sure you get that done nice and early so you get your spot. And you have a chance to compete against pro players, up-and-coming players, and also be casted by myself and Defsy. And if you'd like to find out more information about that, just type exclamation sign up, and that will take you to the bracket page where you can see all the dates and times and the rules and everything else you'll need to know. But that wraps it up for us today. Thank you very much for tuning in. I hope you guys have a great weekend. Play some more Hearthstone, and be sure to tune into the American Championship this weekend. That's going to be fantastic.
I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to see what talent we see come from the American scene. We already saw Astrogation perform exceptionally well today. There's probably plenty of American players that can get there too. So thanks again, guys, and be sure to follow us on our Twitters, and of course, GoSuGamersHS on Twitter as well. Follow this Twitch page. This is where we will be doing these cups from now on. We're not going back to GoSuGamers, so if you want to keep up to date when we go to live, just follow us and then you'll know. So thank you again, and we'll see you next week. Take care, guys.
See you guys.